Chapter 237. What did you say? We have so many brothers. How could we be no match for them? Long Xiang asked in shock. How many people did they send? The gangster said hesitantly, well, it's hard to say. Long Xiang slapped him in the face and said angrily, are you King stupid? Is Mom stupid? Can't she count how many people are coming? 30 or 50? The gangster covered his face and said, not so many. It's just a young man with a child in his arms. The little girl is only 3 or 4 years old. I don't know if she should be counted as a person. What? You're saying that a woman carrying a child destroyed our place? Long Xiang thought that the hooligan in front of him had gone crazy. The hooligans under him were all experienced fighters. How could 40 to 50 people not be able to defeat a stay-at-home dad with a child? Just then, the door was kicked open from the outside. Qin Haodong stood proudly at the door with the little fellow in his arms. Seeing the little fellow eating a lollipop, Long Xiang immediately realized that this was the father who was good at fighting. Now he could only turn to Long Haisheng for help. He hurriedly cried, Godfather, this guy obviously doesn't give you face. You must teach him a good lesson. While speaking, he also felt a little strange. Although he was in charge of this place, it was also Long Haisheng's place. Why were Long Haisheng's bodyguards indifferent to his place being smashed? He didn't know that the people brought by Long Haisheng had either been beaten by Qin Haodong or were very familiar with Qin Haodong. How could they do anything? Uncle Long, why are you here? Is Brother Xiaobao here? I want to play with him. The little fellow's eyes were sharp and she recognized Long Haisheng at once. Xiaobao didn't come. You can go to Uncle Long's house to play when you have time. After seeing Qin Haodong, Long Haisheng, who was sitting on the sofa, immediately stood up and said enthusiastically, Brother Qin, why are you here? Seeing his godfather's affection and respect for the young man, Long Xiang was shocked. He couldn't think of any young man in Jiangnan who could be so valued by Long Haisheng. Qin Haodong was not sure if it had anything to do with Long Haisheng. He said with a cold face, I'm here to find the crown prince. I want someone from him. The little fellow said in a childish voice, a bad guy caught my mother. As the ruler of the underground world in Jiangnan, Long Haisheng also knew that Long Xiang had given him the title of crown prince. He turned his head and asked, what happened? Did you do it? Long Xiang shivered with fright. He didn't expect that he would be beaten up after robbing a woman, and it happened that Long Haisheng was here. Although Long Haisheng was the leader of the underworld, he was very strict with his subordinates. If he knew that he had robbed Lu Yage, he would destroy him. He shook his head and said, I don't know, Godfather. I have so many brothers. Maybe it was done by some blind bastard. Qin Haodong realized that Long Haisheng didn't know the truth. He glanced at Long Xiang next to him and said coldly, Are you the crown prince? It's all our brother's nonsense. Long Xiang said awkwardly. Although Long Haisheng was the godfather of the underworld, it was too much for him to give himself the title of crown prince. Moreover, Long Haisheng had a son. Although he would die of leukemia sooner or later, he was not dead yet. That's you. Hand over Lu Yage, or I'll send you to heaven now. Qin Haodong's voice was not loud, but it was full of domineering, giving people a feeling of irresistible. Long Xiang trembled with fear. He turned back and held Long Haisheng's arm and said, Godfather, you have to help me. I really don't know who Lu Yage is. Long Haisheng said, Brother Qin, is there any misunderstanding? I'm sure that he caught the woman. Qin Haodong's powerful spirit had already felt a trace of Lu Yage's breath from Long Xiang, which was more useful than any evidence. After that, he slowly closed his eyes and carefully felt the source of the breath. It was next door. In Long Haisheng's view, he was the boss of the underworld. Long Xiang would not dare to lie to him. So he didn't believe that Long Xiang was lying. He thought there must be some misunderstanding in this matter. When he was about to say something, Qin Haodong suddenly opened his eyes. He held the little fellow in his left hand and punched the wall next to him with his right hand. This punch was so domineering that it had a kind of momentum that could swallow mountains and rivers. The pupils of Thai boxing champion Banier, who had been sitting next to him, suddenly shrank, and then his eyes burned with endless fighting intent. When others had not realized what was going on, half of the solid wall was blown down by Chin Haodong's punch. The smoke and dust dissipated, and the scene on the opposite side was clearly visible. The yellow-haired gangster was afraid that something would happen to Lu Yage, so he tied her to a chair and stuffed her mouth with a towel. Then he squatted beside her. He never dreamed that the wall would be knocked down, and he was suddenly shocked. When he saw Lu Yage, Chin Haodong's face became cold. He strode through the gap, then pulled the towel out of Lu Yage's mouth and broke the rope around her. "Dr. Chin, thank you." Lu Yage, who had been desperate, saw Chin Haodong and rekindled her hope. She sobbed and her tears were like broken pearls. At this time, there was no need for Chin Haodong to speak. Long Haisheng also understood what was going on. No wonder Long Xiang said that he couldn't go to that room. It turned out that there was a woman in it. He had always thought that he could not lie to his adopted son, but he was full of lies. "Bastard, kneel down." Long Haisheng slapped Long Xiang's face, leaving a bright red palm print. "Godfather, I was wrong. Please forgive me this time." Seeing that the matter was exposed, Long Xiang fell to his knees and kept slapping his mouth. He began to play the pity card. Long Haisheng said angrily, "Tell me, what the hell is going on? Didn't you say you didn't know? How did this woman come here?" Long Xiang stammered for a long time, but he couldn't say anything. It was impossible to lie now, but he didn't dare to tell the truth. He was afraid of being beaten to death by Long Haisheng. Long Haisheng turned to Lu Yage and said, "Young lady, tell me, what the hell is going on?" Lu Yage didn't know Long Haisheng. She turned to Chin Haodong and asked for his opinion. Chin Haodong said, "Sister Lu, this is brother Long Haisheng. You can tell the truth. He will give you a fair explanation for what happened today." This was said not only for Lu Yage, but also for Long Haisheng. Although Long Haisheng didn't know what happened today, Long Xiang was his subordinate after all. He must give a fair explanation. Otherwise, it would be difficult to calm his anger. After getting Chin Haodong's permission, Lu Yage wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and told him how she borrowed usury from Long Xiang to buy medicine for her child, how she was blackmailed when she repaid the loan, and how Long Xiang wanted to take the opportunity to possess her. Beast! Hearing this, Long Haisheng suddenly became furious and slapped Long Xiang's face. Long Xiaobao also had leukemia. He knew very well the hardships of the parents of sick children. Moreover, Lu Yage was still alone with her daughter. In this case, Long Xiang should do such a bad thing, which made him almost burst his lungs. After dozens of slaps, Long Xiang's face was swollen like a pig's head. Long Haisheng was still angry. He turned to Dafei and said, "According to the rules of the gang, how should we deal with this situation?" Dafei said respectfully, "According to the first rule of the gang, those who deceive the gang leader will be thrown into the river by breaking the tendons of their hands and feet. The sixth rule of the gang, relying on the power of the gang to bully the weak and rape women. Those who rape women will die." He was very smart. Although Long Xiang was guilty, he was Long Haisheng's godson. He did not express his opinion before he knew the meaning of the gang leader. He just read the gang rules according to the articles. Long Haisheng said in a deep voice, "Since there are rules, send him to hell according to the rules of the gang." Dafei sighed in his heart. He knew that Long Haisheng was showing his attitude. If Long Xiang provoked others, he might have a chance to survive. Now it seemed that he would die. He waved his hand and immediately 2 bodyguards in black came forward and took out ropes to tie Long Xiang up. Long Xiang was completely panicked. He thought that Long Haisheng just slapped him a few times to show others. He didn't expect that Long Haisheng would act according to the gang rules. He hugged Long Haisheng's thigh and begged, "Godfather, please don't kill me. Forgive me this time. I won't dare to do it again. I have to take care of you." Long Haisheng kicked him away and said with disgust, "I thought you were more simple, so I accepted you as my godson and handed over the affairs of the gang to you. I didn't expect that you would do such a terrible thing. Since you have made a mistake, you have to accept punishment." Long Xiang cried, "Godfather, you can't do this. Xiaobao's illness won't last long. I will be your son in the future," Long Haisheng said in a cold voice. "Even if you are my son, you will be punished according to the rules of the gang for doing such a terrible thing. Besides, Xiaobao's illness has been cured by Brother Qin." "What? Cured?" Long Xiang was confused. No wonder Long Haisheng's attitude changed today. It turned out that this young man had already destroyed his last reliance. Up to now, he hadn't figured out who Qin Haodong was. If he had known that there was such a powerful person, he would not have dared to provoke Lu Yage. But it was too late to regret now. Long Haisheng turned around and waved his hand. Two bodyguards in black immediately tied Long Xiang up, gagged him and carried him out. When everything was done, he said to Qin Haodong, "Brother Qin, I'm really sorry. I didn't expect this little beast to do such a thing. He deserves to die." Then he took out the checkbook, wrote a check of 1 million yuan and sent it to Lu Yage. "Sister, I'm sorry about this. Take this money as a little compensation." Today's things changed so fast that Lu Yage couldn't adapt to it for a while. At the beginning, she was desperate and thought that she would be destroyed by Long Xiang. But Qin Haodong changed everything. First, he rescued her. Then Long Haisheng punished Long Xiang according to the gang rules. In the blink of an eye, he gave her 1 million yuan as compensation. Taking a deep breath, she said, "Brother Long, it's all over. I can't take the money." Long Haisheng said, "Sister, my son also had leukemia and was cured by Brother Qin. It's not easy for you to take care of your child alone. You can take the money to support your family." Qin Haodong then said, "This money is given to you by Brother Long. You can take it." Seeing Qin Haodong agree, Lu Yage also accepted the check. The matter had been solved. Qin Haodong was ready to leave with Lu Yage. "Wait a minute." At this time, a heavy voice sounded. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice. It was Thai boxing champion Banier. He looked at Qin Haodong with burning eyes and said, "You are very powerful. I want to fight with you." Chapter 238. Banier, don't mess around. This is my brother. Long Haisheng didn't expect that the Thai boxing champion would challenge Qin Haodong, so he quickly stood up to stop him. But at this time, Banier's eyes were burning. He stared at Qin Haodong with a strong desire to fight in his eyes. He didn't seem to hear Long Haisheng's words. He had always been a martial arts addict. This time, he came to Huaxia to be a bodyguard for Long Haisheng. On the one hand, he wanted to make money, on the other hand, he wanted to see the warriors of Huaxia. As the saying goes, when an expert makes a move, you will know whether he is real or not. Just now, Qin Haodong broke the wall with a domineering punch, which made Banier see that he was definitely a master, and immediately ignited his desire to fight. Because of this, he didn't take Long Haisheng's advice seriously. Compared with money, he was more obsessed with martial arts. At this time, he only had eyes for Qin Haodong. "Do you dare to fight with me?" He took 2 steps forward, and a strong and valiant aura spread out. The bulging muscles all over his body formed a sharp contrast with Qin Haodong's weak image, as if he could poke Qin Haodong's body with just one finger. Banier looked at Qin Haodong with burning eyes, full of expectation. Qin Haodong held the little fellow and looked back at him. Their eyes collided in the air. Just when everyone thought that the two masters would meet and there would be sparks, Qin Haodong said lightly, "I'm sorry, I'm not interested." Banier was very powerful in the eyes of others, but he was nothing in his eyes. A little Thai boxing champion who had not even reached the level of covert power stood up to challenge him. This was no different from a joke. It was really difficult to arouse his interest. Most of the people present thought that Chin Haodong was afraid of Banier, but he was just a doctor. Even if he couldn't beat the boxing champion, there was no shame. Just when everyone thought that Banier would stop, the stubborn boxing champion became stubborn. He stood in front of Chin Haodong and said with burning fighting intent, "No, you are a master. I must fight with you. I'm sorry, I'm very busy. I don't have the time." Chin Haodong said indifferently, "If you have to fight, you win." As soon as he said this, Banier seemed to be greatly insulted. He growled, "Huaxia man, are you looking down on me?" When he got angry, his momentum suddenly soared, like a furious beast. The people around him could not bear the powerful momentum and stepped back. Chin Haodong didn't seem to feel it and still said lightly, "You can understand it that way." Seeing that the Thai boxing king was about to lose control of his emotions, Long Haisheng cried, "Banier, I've said that Dr. Chin is my brother. I know, I won't hurt him." Banier cried emotionally, "But I have to fight with him today. It's about the glory of a boxer and the glory of Muay Thai." Chin Haodong glanced at this guy and thought to himself, "Is there something wrong with you?" Chin SST with TLLS, Chint T1, Long Haisheng's face darkened. The boxing champion was invited by him at a high price. Someone had said before that this guy was violent and had big fists but no brains. Now it seemed that it was true. Banier stared at Chin Haodong and said word by word, "I saw your punch just now. It was full of strength. I can see that you are a master from this punch, so I want to see your moves again." "I'm sorry. You really can't." Chin Haodong said, "Get out of the way. I have something to do." "What will make you fight with me?" Banier cried excitedly, "As long as you can beat me, I'll give you 200,000 yuan. If you lose, you can leave right away. How about that?" He was a martial arts fanatic as well as a boxer. In his eyes, the temptation of money was the greatest. "Tempting me with money?" Chin Haodong looked at Banier and said, "Not everyone values money so much, 400,000 yuan. Banier doubled the price. "I regard money as dirt." 800,000 yuan. Banier gritted his teeth and cried. Today he would fight with this young man anyway. And he was not short of money. Long Haisheng hired him with a salary of more than 1 million yuan. "Well, hurry up." As soon as he said this, everyone's eyes were broken. Don't you value money so much? Don't you regard money as dirt? Why did you agree in a twinkling of an eye? In fact, Chin Haodong really didn't care about the 800,000 yuan, but he had been provoked again and again, which was related to a man's dignity. If he didn't accept the challenge, what would people around him think? What would Lu Yage think? What would his daughter think? Moreover, the other party was a Thai. If it was known, it would be embarrassing for the martial arts world of Huaxia. Seeing that he agreed so quickly, Banier was also stunned for a moment. When he reacted, he said without hesitation, "Let's start now. If you win, I'll give you 800,000 yuan." He said it very straightforwardly, but he didn't think that Chin Haodong could take away his money. He had been in the underground boxing ring for so many years and had never been defeated. "Come on, let's have a good fight." Banier became more and more excited. He raised his hand and tore off his coat, revealing his steel-cast muscles. Chin Haodong still stood there with the little fellow in his arms. "If you want to fight, let's fight. I'm in a hurry." "Why don't you put the child down? Don't you need to prepare?" Banier asked in astonishment. In his opinion, Chin Haodong should at least put the child down, otherwise how could he fight with a child in his arms? Chin Haodong said, "I don't need to deal with you. Hurry up." Now, in everyone's view, Chin Haodong was a little arrogant. Banier was a famous Thai boxing champion in Thailand. Those gangsters under the Flying Dragon Special Forces could not compare with him. Long Haisheng was also worried about him and said, "Brother Qin, why don't you let me take care of Tang Tang first?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Brother Long, it's not necessary. It's really not necessary to deal with such a person. Boy, you're courting death." Seeing that Qin Haodong despised him so much, Thai boxing champion Banier suddenly became angry. He raised his hand and punched Qin Haodong's face. As soon as an expert made a move, one would know whether he was real or not. Banier's punch was fast and fierce, and even the surrounding air made a hissing sound. It seemed that the title of Thai boxing king was not undeserved. Qin Haodong gently dodged Banier's punch with the little fellow in his arms and said, "I'll give you another chance. You must do your best, or you won't have another chance." Banier's punch seemed fierce, but he didn't show all his strength. He wanted to let Qin Haodong see his power, and then put the little fellow down and have a good fight with him. At this time, seeing that Qin Haodong easily avoided the punch, Banier immediately put away his contempt. He cried excitedly, "In this case, let me see your exquisite boxing skills." After that, he put on the starting gesture of Thai boxing with a dignified look, and then suddenly punched Qin Haodong in the chest. Compared to the previous punch, the speed of this punch was twice as fast, and the force behind it was even greater. The expressions of the onlookers changed at the same time. They were all shocked by the momentum of this punch. Some people said that Banier could kill a cow with a punch. Now it seemed that this was definitely not a rumor. But Qin Haodong didn't care at all. He held the little fellow in his left hand and punched with his right hand. His punch was in sharp contrast to Banier's. It was not fast, and it seemed to have no strength. It was not even as powerful as the punch that had just hit the wall. Lu Yage, who was standing behind him, involuntarily bit her lip. Her eyes were full of worry. Although she didn't know martial arts, she could see that this Thai was not easy to deal with. Long Haisheng frowned. In his opinion, Qin Haodong was a little arrogant. Banier was the Thai boxing champion, absolutely not ordinary people. Just then, the two fists collided with a muffled bang. The result was far beyond everyone's expectations. Qin Haodong was still holding the little fellow calmly, while Thai boxing champion Barnil, who had been full of momentum just now, flew out as if he had been hit by a cannonball, and his whole body hit the wall behind him. Banier paused on the wall for 4 or 5 seconds before falling down. There was a clear human-shaped mark on the wall behind him, which showed how powerful Qin Haodong's punch was. Not only that, after Banier fell to the ground, he spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood in succession, and then his eyes turned over and he fainted. Thai boxing champion Banier was defeated with 1 punch, and everyone present was shocked. What kind of monster was this? Was he too strong? The most shocked was Dafei. He had fought with Qin Haodong before. Although he was defeated badly, Qin Haodong was far less powerful than he was now. Less than a month had passed, and Qin Haodong had made such great progress, which shocked him more and more. Long Haisheng also couldn't close his mouth. He only knew that Qin Haodong was very strong, but he didn't know how strong he was. Banier was famous in the Thai boxing circle and was known as the Thai boxing king. He had spent a lot of money to invite him. But now he couldn't even resist 1 punch from Qin Haodong. Was Banier too weak or Qin Haodong too strong? Seeing Banier fainting on the ground, Qin Haodong shook his head. It was lucky that he hadn't been killed by others. He went over, bent down, and slapped Banier's chest several times. Banier spat out another mouthful of blood, but this time it was extravasated blood. After spitting it out, he woke up, and his chest felt a little more comfortable. "Get up, don't pretend to be dead." Banier looked at Qin Haodong. At this time, there was no fighting intent in his eyes, but full of worship and enthusiasm. Originally, he wanted to see how exquisite Qin Haodong's boxing technique was. Unexpectedly, Qin Haodong didn't need to use his boxing technique at all. He just knocked him out with 1 punch. "Master." Banier knelt down in front of Qin Haodong. "Master, please accept me as an apprentice." I want to learn Huaxia Kung Fu from you. At this time, the Thai boxing king was convinced. After so many years in the boxing circle, today he saw what a master was. I'm not interested. You'd better be a boxing king. Qin Haodong turned around and left. What kind of person was he? First, he pestered him to fight, and if he lost, he asked him to be his master. It was really annoying. Not to mention that he didn't want to accept apprentices. Even if he did, he would not accept people like Banier. His aptitude was really ordinary. He just stimulated the human body's potential by devil training. Since the potential was gone, there would be no room for improvement in the future. Big Brother Long has my account number. Remember to transfer your money over. After Qin Haodong finished, he waved to Lu Yage, who was stunned, and then left the Night Eye Bar with the little fellow in his arms, leaving Thai boxing king Banier kneeling there alone. Chapter 239. After leaving the Night Eye Bar, Qin Haodong first found a pharmacy, bought a lot of glass bottles, syringes and other utensils, and then returned to Lu Yage's home. The lame man and Nyonyo had been waiting in front of the door. When they saw Lu Yage coming back, Nyonyo immediately threw herself into her arms. The mother and daughter cried bitterly. Well, don't cry. It's over. Qin Haodong comforted Lu Yage and her daughter and then said, Look, what I brought. Qin Haodong took out the glass bottle filled with blood revival oral liquid. Lu Yage wiped her tears and looked at the emerald liquid in the glass bottle. She asked, Dr. Qin, what is this? This is my newly developed blood revival oral liquid, which can cure leukemia completely. He took 2 glasses, poured a little into each, and then gave them to the lame man and Nyonyo. Drink it. After drinking it, you will be cured. Dr. Qin, is this true? Hearing that the liquid could cure leukemia completely, the lame man's hands trembled with excitement. Fortunately, there was only about 5 milliliters of blood revival oral liquid in the glass, otherwise he would have spilled it. Qin Haodong said with a smile, You will know after drinking it. I didn't ask you for money. If someone else had said this, the lame man would have sneered at it, because there was no effective treatment for leukemia at present. However, after witnessing Qin Haodong's magical medical skills yesterday, he now believed in this young doctor. The lame man raised his head and drank all the liquid in the glass. Nyonyo also drank it. Most of Nyonyo's disease had been cured by Qin Haodong. At this time, drinking the blood revival oral liquid regulated her internal cause of disease, so the human body did not feel too obvious. On the other hand, Cripple was different. 5 minutes after drinking the medicine, he felt his whole body heat up, as if he had drunk fresh soup. Every pore on his body exuded an indescribable sense of comfort, and the feeling of weakness disappeared. The deathly pale face of leukemia patients was replaced by a faint blush. Qin Haodong felt the pulse of Nyonyo and the lame man respectively. Finally, he said, You are cured. You don't need to take medicine anymore. Dr. Qin, thank you. Thank you so much. The lame man had never felt so good since he had leukemia. He immediately knelt down and kowtowed to Qin Haodong. You're welcome. This is what I promised you. Qin Haodong helped the cripple up and said, I'll help you to the end. I'll cure your leg as well. My leg has been injured for more than 10 years. Can it be cured? Cripple asked excitedly. It's much simpler than treating leukemia. After saying that, Qin Haodong asked the cripple to lie on the bed. Then he took out the silver needles and used the revival acupuncture method to repair the atrophied muscles in his legs. 10 minutes later, Cripple threw away the walking stick in his hand and started to walk freely on the ground. Dr. Qin, you are really a miracle-working doctor. You deserve the title of medical sage. Thank you so much. The cripple was so excited that he burst into tears and was about to kowtow to Qin Haodong again. Qin Haodong held him and said, You don't have to kowtow. Now go to the hospital for a test to see how your blood index has recovered. Alright, I'll go now. Although the cripple now felt that he had recovered, in the end, he still had to rely on data. He ran out of Lu Yage's yard and took a taxi to the hospital. After the cripple left, Qin Haodong asked the little fellow and Nyonyo to play in the yard. He took Lu Yage to extract the blood revival oral liquid with a syringe and injected it into the glass bottles he had bought according to the standard of 5 milliliters per bottle. Ms. Lu, please contact your friends later and sell these medicines to them. Okay, Dr. Qin, I thank you on behalf of my patients. They will be crazy if they know the good news. As Nyonyo's mother, she knew how painful it was for those patients with leukemia. Dr. Qin, how much are you going to sell it for? I'll tell them in advance so that they can prepare the money. In Lu Yage's opinion, the price of this kind of magic medicine that could cure leukemia once and for all would not be low. Those leukemia patients needed to prepare the money in advance. Qin Haodong looked at her with a smile and then held out 2 fingers. Lu Yage was shocked. Last time Qin Haodong held out 2 fingers to Huang Weili, it was 2 million yuan. Although it was understandable that the medicine that could cure leukemia could be sold for 2 million yuan, most of those patients could not afford it. Dr. Qin, is 2 million yuan a little expensive? Those patients have been tortured by leukemia for so many years that they have been ruined. I'm afraid they can't get so much money. Qin Haodong said with a smile, who said 2 million yuan? Do you think I'm one of those black-hearted businessmen? Oh. 200,000 yuan is much easier. I'll inform them right away. Lu Yage breathed a sigh of relief. Although 200,000 yuan was not a small number, the medicine that could cure leukemia at one time was absolutely worth the price. Sister Lu, you think too much. It's not 200,000 yuan. How much is that? Lu Yage asked in surprise. If this medicine was sold for 20,000 yuan a bottle, it would be lower than the price of Constantine, which could only relieve symptoms for a month. It's 2 yuan. Qin Haodong said, shaking 2 fingers. 2 yuan? Oh my God, did I hear you right? Lu Yage almost bit off her tongue. Yes, it's 2 yuan. Qin Haodong said with a smile, yesterday I promised to treat everyone. I picked these medicines from the mountains. There is no cost. The medicine is free. I just need to collect the money for the glass bottles. In Jiangnan Hospital, the lame man held the test results in his hand and jumped up excitedly again. The test sheet in his hand clearly showed that all his blood indexes were normal, which meant that his leukemia was completely cured. What's the matter, lame man? Why are you so happy? A doctor in a white coat came over. He was Zhang Xiaoping, the attending physician of the hematology department of Jiangnan Hospital. He diagnosed the lame man's leukemia. Dr. Zhang, my leukemia is cured, completely cured. The lame man shouted excitedly. It attracted the attention of countless people in the hospital corridor, but these people looked at him with pity in their eyes, thinking that another sick person was crazy. Zhang Xiaoping also shook his head and said, lame man, since you are sick, treat it well. Don't make yourself crazy because of this. Dr. Zhang, I'm not crazy. I'm really cured. The lame man waved the test sheet in his hand and said, look at the test results. All my blood indexes are normal. I'm really cured. After that, he did not give the test sheet to Zhang Xiaoping. Instead, he rushed out of the hospital excitedly. He was eager to tell Qin Haodong the news. What's the matter? Is he really cured? Zhang Xiaoping didn't believe it at first, but seeing the lame man's good physical condition, he really didn't look like a person with leukemia. With a trace of doubt, he went to the laboratory, turned on the computer, and pulled up the lame man's test record. When he saw the data displayed on the computer, he suddenly widened his eyes. The lame man's test results were really normal, which was completely different from the results of previous tests. He called the nurse in charge of the blood test and said, Xiao Wang, are you sure this man didn't make a mistake when drawing blood? The young nurse looked serious and said, yes, he is also an old patient of our hospital. How could I make a mistake? That's strange. He printed out all the lame man's medical records, and then hurried to the vice director's office. The vice director, Zhang Xiaoan, was Zhang Xiaoping's cousin. After entering the door, Zhang Xiaoping said, "Brother, something strange happened today. A diabetic actually said he was cured." Zhang Xiaoan burst into laughter and said, "Xiaoping, you are also a hematologist in our hospital. You even believe this? Leukemia is now an incurable disease. If you have money, it can be effectively alleviated. It's impossible to say that it's completely cured, unless he met an immortal. I thought so at first, but look at his test results. He's really cured." With that, Zhang Xiaoping spread all the lame man's medical records in front of Zhang Xiaoan. Zhang Xiaoan looked at it carefully, and the smile on his face slowly disappeared. Finally, he said seriously, "Are you sure that today's test results are correct?" Zhang Xiaoping said, "I've already asked the nurse on duty. She said it must be correct. We can't be careless about this. Let me check it again." Zhang Xiaoan said, turned on the computer on his desk, retrieved the surveillance video of the blood test department, and confirmed that it was the lame man himself who drew the blood. That's strange. Since there's no problem with the blood, how did he recover from his illness? Zhang Xiaoan held his chin and thought for a long time. Finally, he said, "Xiaoping, this matter ends here. Don't say anything." "Why?" Zhang Xiaoping asked in surprise. "Do you still need to ask? Leukemia is impossible to cure. Since there's no problem with today's blood test, you misdiagnosed him at the beginning. He doesn't have this disease at all. If this matter is spread, it will not only affect the reputation of our hospital, but also bring you huge losses, so it must be kept secret." "I misdiagnosed him? That's impossible, right?" Zhang Xiaoping said with a stunned face. "If it's not a misdiagnosis, can you have any other explanation? Even if you have, can anyone believe it? This. I'll listen to you, brother. I'll keep it secret." Zhang Xiaoping had nothing to say for a while. It was true. If this matter was spread, it could only be thought that he had misdiagnosed him at the beginning. Moreover, it had been too long. He was not sure if he had really misdiagnosed him at that time. Qin Haodong and Lu Yage finished distributing all the liquid, no more and no less, exactly 100 portions. At this time, the lame man ran in from outside excitedly. "Dr. Qin, look, I'm really cured." As he said this, he sent the test sheet to Qin Haodong. "Not bad." Qin Haodong took the test sheet and glanced at it. This result was what he expected. His pulse was much more accurate than this instrument. However, if he wanted to convince more people, he still needed the test sheet to prove it. He briefly told the lame man about the sale of the blood revival oral liquid tomorrow and then said, "Sister Lu may not be able to do it alone. Come and help her tomorrow." "No problem." The lame man happily agreed. He then said, "Dr. Qin, you really have the heart of a living bodhisattva to treat everyone for free." Qin Haodong said, "By the way, there's one more thing. Although the medicine is free tomorrow, everyone has to hand in all the test results and all the medical records later." Lu Yage asked in confusion, "Dr. Qin, what do you want this for?" Qin Haodong said, "There are only 100 portions of this liquid. If I want to cure more patients, I can't do it myself. I have to rely on the mass production of enterprises. Therefore, I want to set up a pharmaceutical company to mass produce insurance oral liquid. However, there are conditions for mass production. The formula of this medicine must be approved by the Drug Administration, so I need the treatment data of 100 patients." Chapter 240. Lu Yage said excitedly, "If this medicine can be mass-produced, it will be a great contribution. I thank you on behalf of more than 4 million leukemia patients in Huaxia." The lame man said, "Dr. Qin is doing a good thing, but I'm afraid that some people will run away after they are cured. If we can't find them, we can't get the medical records back. I'm afraid we can't get 100 copies of data." Lu Yage said, that's easy. Although our medicine is free, we can charge a deposit in advance. Then we can let the cured patients use the medical records to collect the deposit, so that we can get it back. Qin Haodong nodded. It seemed that Lu Yage was still very business-minded. She thought of a solution so quickly. That's it. I'll leave it to Sister Lu. It was getting late. Qin Haodong refused Lu Yage's invitation to stay and went home with the little fellow. After dinner, the little fellow went to play with Damao and Ermao. Lin Momo took Qin Haodong into the study. Qin Haodong held Lin Momo in his arms, kissed her hard and said, "What did you bring me here for? Are you going to admire my beauty?" Lin Momo rolled her eyes at him and said, "You're so shameless. I have something serious to talk to you about." Qin Haodong said, "What? Is there any progress in building a pharmaceutical factory?" Lin Momo said, "Today I held a special meeting of the board of directors to discuss the building of a pharmaceutical factory." "What's the result?" Lin Momo said, "The result is very good. The directors of the group are not stupid. How can they miss such a good business opportunity?" Everyone agreed that Lin's group will enter the pharmaceutical industry, but there is a premise. Your medicine can really cure leukemia. Qin Haodong took out the lame man's medical records and said, "There is no problem with the medicine I developed. You see, today a patient has been cured after taking the medicine. These are his examination results and previous medical records. This is just the beginning. Tomorrow, there will be 100 more medical records of leukemia patients." "Great." Lin Momo said excitedly with the medical records, "You are thoughtful. With these things, the board of directors can not only pass smoothly, but also save a lot of trouble in the drug approval." Qin Haodong said, "Don't just be happy. How about the shares? I have to be the controlling shareholder." Lin Momo opened her bag, took out a stack of A4 paper and handed it to Qin Haodong. "Have a look. This is the professional budget I asked my team to make. If you want to build a large-scale pharmaceutical company, you need at least 3 billion yuan. I haven't counted your formula as the cost." Qin Haodong flipped through it briefly. He was not very good at these things, so he said, "I don't understand this stuff. Just tell me, can you do it or not?" Lin Momo said, "I discussed this matter at the board meeting. In the end, I could only give you 40% of the shares." Qin Haodong said, "You're really short-sighted. The prescription that can completely cure leukemia is a priceless treasure no matter where it is. You only gave me such a small share. It seems that you don't have the sincerity to cooperate." Lin Momo said, "In fact, this is also normal, because what you have now is only a formula. How much this medicine can cure leukemia needs to be further tested. We don't know if there are other side effects. These risks need to be borne by Lin's group, so it's reasonable to give you 40% of the shares. You have to have 51% of the shares." Qin Haodong said, "Well, I'll take a step back. I'll give you the formula and 500 million yuan, and then I want 51% of the shares. If you agree, we'll cooperate. If not, I'll find another way." In fact, with Qin Haodong's current resources and connections, it was very easy to find 3 billion yuan. At least old Maldini's investment bank would be happy to invest. The reason why he cooperated with Lin's group was that he didn't want foreigners to earn the money, and Lin Momo was the only heir of Lin's group. If the directors of Lin's group really didn't know what was good for them, he would kick them out without hesitation. Lin Momo said, "I gave you 40% of the shares before, which means that your formula is valued at 2 billion. If you add another 500 million yuan, it will be 2.5 billion yuan. The possibility of our cooperation is still very high." The joint venture to build a pharmaceutical factory was almost discussed. Early the next morning, Lin Momo hurried to Lin's group for a board meeting. Qin Haodong took the little fellow to the van sent by Zhang Tiniu. After returning from Shenangjia, he contacted Nailan Wushuang and asked her to help him choose a cemetery with excellent feng shui. At the same time, he prepared a large number of wreaths, and corresponding items for priests. Today, he was going to take the little fellow to bury Sikong Jaixing and let the deceased predecessor of the cultivation world rest in peace. When they went out, Damao and Ermao followed the little fellow closely. It seemed that they also wanted to go out for a breath of fresh air. The little fellow said, "Let's take Damao and Ermao with us. You see how poor they are at home. Well, let's take them with us." After Qin Haodong said that, Damao and Ermao rushed to jump into the van, as if they were afraid to leave them behind. After taking the marrow cleansing pill and the spirit culturing pill, Damao and Ermao not only grew faster than other dogs, but also developed their intelligence to a great extent. Except that they could not speak, there was no problem in communicating, so Qin Haodong was not afraid that they would cause any trouble. Today's weather was good. It was sunny, and the sky was clear. Although the destination was in the suburbs, it was not too far from the urban area, and the roads were very well developed. The father and daughter took the two dogs and soon arrived at the parking lot of the cemetery. This was a newly developed cemetery, located on a not too steep hillside, facing the sea. From the perspective of feng shui, this was definitely a treasure land for burial. Because of this, the price of the cemetery here was very high, more expensive than the house in the urban area. The cemetery chosen by Nailan Wushuang was in the best position here, and it cost more than 100,000 yuan in total. At the foot of the mountain was a large square that covered an area of thousands of square meters. It had also become a parking lot. Today was neither a weekend nor a traditional sacrificial festival, so there were not many people here. The parking lot was empty, with only a few hundred or so cars. Because of this, it had become a paradise for some people to walk their dogs. Almost all kinds of dogs could be seen here. However, Qin Haodong did not let Damao and Ermao get out of the car. Now these two guys were different from before. They looked like little lions. Although they were very intelligent and could not take the initiative to attack people, some people were afraid of seeing dogs. This was a public place, and it might scare people. It was better to take them to a place where no one was around after burying Sikong Jaixing. Although the cemetery here was a little expensive, the service was very good. The staff of the cemetery helped Qin Haodong move all the items to the cemetery. After all the preparations were done, Qin Haodong asked the staff to leave. He took out the remains of Sikong Jaixing from the storage ring and buried them in the coffin prepared in the cemetery. Then he placed incense, candles and tributes in front of the tombstone. After everything was done, Qin Haodong took the little fellow to kowtow 3 times in front of the tombstone. Anyway, they got great benefits from Sikong Jaixing, especially Tang Tang. Although she did not worship Sikong Jaixing as her master, she also got the inheritance of a Yuan sect. Near noon, after burying Sikong Jaixing, the father and daughter began to walk down the mountain. The little fellow's physique was far better than that of children of the same age. She did not let Qin Haodong hold her. She ran happily in front, and Qin Haodong followed her. They arrived at the parking lot. When they were about to return to the van, suddenly there was a barking sound. A black Rottweiler rushed here and pounced on the little fellow. Although Tang Tang had the Suzaku's sacred body and also practiced the Emperor Yen Heart Sutra, she was still a child of 3 or 4 years old. Seeing the huge Rottweiler pouncing on her like a hungry wolf, the little fellow was scared. She stood there motionless and completely forgot to dodge. The Rottweiler opened its big mouth and was about to bite the little fellow's neck. Fortunately, Qin Haodong had been paying attention to this side. He quickly grabbed the little fellow and held her in his arms. The Rottweiler did not run away. Instead, it turned around and pounced on Qin Haodong again. Qin Haodong looked at the evil dog coldly. It was more than 1 meter long. Its eyes were red and fierce, and there was sticky saliva hanging from the corner of its mouth. It was obvious that it was a mad dog. This made him break out in a cold sweat. It was such a huge mad dog. If he had reacted a little slower, the little fellow would have been unimaginable. Seeing that the mad dog did not stop and continued to pounce on Tang Tang in his arms, Qin Haodong was completely enraged. He raised his hand and slapped the dog on the head. This slap was full of anger and directly broke the Rottweiler's skull. The dog howled and then bled from its 7 orifices. It fell to the ground motionless. Qin Haodong touched the little fellow's head and asked with concern, "Tang Tang, are you scared?" The little fellow came to her senses at this time. She nodded with a pale face and said, "Papa, what kind of bad dog is this? Dumao and Ermao don't bite people. Why does it bite people?" Qin Haodong said, "This dog has gone mad. Mad dogs bite people. If you encounter this kind of situation again, run quickly. Don't wait there." As he was speaking, a woman in her 30s, who was covered with jewels, ran over. When she saw the Rottweiler on the ground, she immediately wailed as if her father had died. Was she sure that the dog could not be more dead? The woman looked up at Qin Haodong and cried, "Toy boy, did you kill my dog?" The little fellow said, "Auntie, it was your dog that bit people. Papa hit it." Qin Haodong also said, "Your dog has gone mad. If you don't kill it, it will definitely hurt others. Take it back and find a place to bury it." The woman cried angrily, "What's the big deal about biting people? I have money. I can pay for it. Why did you kill my dog? Do you know how expensive my dog is? This is a purebred Rottweiler. It costs more than 300,000 yuan. Qin Haodong's face darkened and he said, "Rottweiler is a very fierce large dog. You shouldn't have let it go. It almost bit my daughter just now. What's wrong with me killing it? Is your dog allowed to bite people and others are not allowed to resist? I won't allow it. If my dog bites you, I can pay for it, but you can't beat my dog. The lives of both of you added together aren't as valuable as a dog of mine. A dog is a dog. No matter how noble a dog is, it can't be compared with a human. If you raise a large dog in the future, you must tie it up, or I will beat it every time I see it." After Qin Haodong said that, he was about to get in the car with the little fellow. "Stop right there. Who said you could leave?" At this time, another woman with yellow curly hair came over. She was also dressed in famous brand clothes and was holding a huge German shepherd in her hand. It seemed that she was the companion of the owner of the Rottweiler. Chapter 241. The yellow-haired woman yelled at Qin Haodong, "How can you be so cruel? Such a good dog was killed by you. Don't you know that dogs are human friends?" Qin Haodong was getting angrier and angrier. These two women were more and more difficult to reason with. If I don't kill it, should I wait for it to bite me to death? A dog is equivalent to a few years old child. What can it understand? So what if it bites you a few times? Not to mention that it can't bite you to death. Even if it bites you to death, why do you fight back? Is a dog's life not a life? Are you so cruel? Have you ever considered the dog's feelings? The woman's words were like a barrage of cannons. Listening to her bullshit logic, Qin Haodong was a little speechless. "Do you eat meat?" Qin Haodong asked. "Of course I eat meat. How can I have enough nutrition without meat?" The woman said, "I'm talking to you about beating dogs. Why do you ask me if I eat meat?" Qin Haodong said, "Where does the meat you eat come from? Aren't cows, sheep and pigs lives? After you killed them, you fried them, cooked them, and changed the way you ate them. Did you feel guilty? Did you ever consider their feelings? This is sophistry. Can dogs be the same as pigs, cows, and sheep? Dogs are intelligent. In short, it's wrong for you to kill a dog. People like you should be arrested and sentenced to death for the crime of intentional homicide." The woman who spoke looked at the dead Rottweiler on the ground as if she had seen her dead parents. She yelled fiercely at Qin Haodong, as if killing him immediately could relieve her hatred. Qin Haodong said, "Intelligent? If it's intelligent, it won't come to bite people. It's okay to like dogs, but you must take good care of your dog. You can't let it run around in public. The yellow-haired woman cried, "You are an unloving person. Why do you want to limit the freedom of dogs? Besides, what's wrong with a dog biting you a few times? You should endure it. Why don't you think about why you don't bite others but you? It must be your own problem." Qin Haodong's face became more and more gloomy. It was said that people with big breasts had no brains. This woman was like an airport. How could she say such brainless words? He sneered and said, "If a dog bites me, then there's something wrong with me. What if your dog bites you? That's impossible. I'm a dog lover. I treat dogs as my friends. My darling is so intelligent. How could it bite me?" As the woman spoke, she lowered her head to look at her German Shepherd dog. Her eyes were filled with love. "Even if it bites me, I will willingly endure it. I will not bring any harm to it because I love it. It is my baby. Is that so? I'd like to see how much you love it." Qin Haodong's eyes flashed. Mind manipulating was not only useful for humans, but also for dogs. The German Shepherd suddenly let out a low growl, then turned its head and fiercely bit the yellow-haired woman's calf. This bite was incomparably fierce. The woman was caught off guard and a piece of her flesh was immediately torn off. "Ah!" The woman let out a shrill scream and fell to the ground. Then she kept kicking the German Shepherd dog with her high-heeled shoes. It was not easy to kick the dog aside. Maybe the dog was crazy. It still kept attacking the woman. All of a sudden, it bit her arm again and did not let go after biting it. "Help! Someone, help me!" The woman screamed in agony. At this time, there were already more than a dozen people around, but these people did not dare to come forward. This dog even dared to bite its owner. It was obvious that it was crazy. Even the owner of the Rottweiler ran far away. It seemed that she was afraid of being bitten by the dog. Fortunately, this alerted the staff of the cemetery. 3 or 4 security guards ran over one after another. First, they wrapped the German Shepherd dog with a net, then stuffed it into a sack and tied the mouth of the sack. "Kill it. It doesn't know what's good for it. It even dares to bite me." After saying that, the blonde woman ignored the injuries on her body. She grabbed a wooden stick from the hands of a security guard and desperately hit the shepherd dog in the sack. Soon, the sack was soaked in blood. The dog no longer struggled. It was obvious that it was dead. "Bastard, dog beast, I'll kill you. How dare you bite me?" The yellow-haired woman threw away the wooden stick in her hand and kept cursing. Qin Haodong sneered and said, "What? Don't you love it very much? Didn't you say that you would be willing to bear its bite and not bring any harm to it? Why did you kill it with your own hands?" Only then did the yellow-haired woman come to her senses. For a moment, she was so ashamed that she turned her head and got into an SUV next to her. She ran away quickly. Some people were like this. When others were hurt, they could jump out and act like a Virgin Mary and make irresponsible remarks in front of others. However, when it came to themselves, they would completely change their attitude. Qin Haodong looked at the yellow-haired woman's back with disdain. He was about to get in the car and leave with the little fellow in his arms. But at this time, the owner of the Rottweiler ran back again. She grabbed his arm and cried, "Stop, you can't go." Qin Haodong frowned and said, "Are you done? Didn't you see that the dog bit people just now, and even the owner killed it?" The woman cried, "That's different. Her dog is only worth a few thousand yuan. It's a cheap life. But my dog is worth more than 300,000 yuan. It's more valuable than a human life." Qin Haodong said impatiently, "What do you want? You killed my dog, so of course you have to pay for it. I bought my dog for 350,000 yuan and raised it for so many years. You have to pay me at least 500,000 yuan." The woman continued, "And my dog is my family, just like my son. You killed it, so you have to bury it. Both of you have to wear mourning clothes and kneel in front of the grave. That's too much. It's too much. It's her dog that wants to bite other people's children. How can she make such an outrageous request? That's right. If you like the dog so much, why don't you tie it up and let it run around and bite people? It's your own business to like dogs. You can't force it on others, and you can't let your dog bite others. The onlookers couldn't stand it anymore and began to talk. But the woman was like a shrew. She put her hands on her hips and cried, "It's none of your business. Shut up." People saw that she was extremely shrewd and had famous brands all over her body. At first glance, they could tell that she was a rich and powerful person. They couldn't afford to provoke her, so they all shut up. The woman turned around and shouted to Qin Haodong again, "Did you hear that? Do what I said immediately, or you can't leave." Qin Haodong said in a cold voice, "Why?" The woman cried rudely, "Because my dog is worth more than 300,000 yuan. Because my dog is more precious than you." "You mean, a valuable dog can bite people around?" "Of course, the life of a dog is more precious than a human life. You are poor, so you deserve to be bitten by my dog." As the woman was speaking, Qin Haodong turned around and opened the door of the van. Two huge white figures suddenly rushed out. After Damao and Ermao got out of the car, they first looked up to the sky and let out a long roar. At this time, they were like two little lions. They were so powerful that the people around them were scared to step back. Just now in the car, they saw with their own eyes that the Rottweiler dared to violate its little master. If they hadn't been trapped in the car, they would have torn the Rottweiler to pieces. Even so, Damao and Ermao came to the Rottweiler's body and kicked it hard twice, as if to vent their anger. "Damao and Ermao, come here." Qin Haodong raised his hand and called the two dogs over. He said to the woman, "My two dogs are purebred snow mastiffs. Someone once offered 30 million yuan but didn't buy them. According to their value, they are much more expensive than the dog of 300,000 yuan. According to your theory, they can bite you at will, right?" The woman was speechless for a while. She had seen that the two dogs were extraordinary, but she didn't expect that the young man in ordinary clothes and driving a broken van would have such good snow mastiffs. "Bite her, let the dogs bite her. Who made her look down on the poor? That's right. This is called reaping what you sow." Seeing this rude and unreasonable woman being humiliated, the onlookers felt delighted and started to shout out one after another. Qin Haodong waved his hand, and Damao and Ermao rushed to the woman. The woman turned her head and wanted to run, but her speed was no match for Damao and Ermao. Before she could turn around, she was slapped to the ground by Damao's paw. "I saw which cemetery you just went to. If you dare to leave, I'll ask someone to dig it up later." "Yes." Chapter 242. After the woman finished speaking, she took out her phone and quickly dialed a number. "Hubby, hurry over. Our dog has been beaten to death. That little bastard even bullied me. Remember to bring the guy over. He has two big dogs." Qin Haodong's face suddenly darkened. It seemed that the woman had not been taught enough. She dared to threaten him with Sikong Jiaxing's grave. He had to let her suffer more. After the woman hung up the phone, she closed the window again and hid in the car honestly. In her opinion, this was the only way to be safe. Unexpectedly, at this moment, two huge white shadows rushed over. They were Damao and Ermao. She screamed in fright, but then she realized that she didn't have to be afraid of hiding in the car. No matter how powerful the two dogs were, they couldn't bite her. "Bastards, wait for me. When my husband comes, I will send you to the dog meat restaurant." The woman unscrupulously vented her anger. Suddenly, she felt the car shaking. Then, with a bang, the SUV was knocked over by Damao and Ermao. After being transformed by Qin Haodong with elixirs, Damao and Ermao were very strong and powerful. They cooperated very well and easily knocked over the woman's SUV. They still felt a little unsatisfied. They lay there with their feet in the air. The woman kept screaming in the car. It took her a lot of effort to turn over. However, she could only stay in the car honestly and did not dare to provoke Damao and Ermao again. After a while, 2 black cars came quickly. 7 people jumped out of the car, led by a young man in his 20s with an electric stick in his hand. Police behind him were 6 bodyguards in black, all holding wooden sticks that were more than 1 meter long and as thick as an arm. After getting out of the car, the young man saw the SUV turned over like a turtle shell at a glance. He hurriedly shouted, "Wife, are you there? What's wrong?" Hearing the young man's shout, the woman finally had the courage. She opened the window and climbed out of the car. "Honey, you're here. I'm going to be bullied to death." The woman threw herself into the young man's arms. She turned around and pointed at Qin Haodong, shouting, "It's this gigolo. He not only killed our Rottweiler, but also bullied me with his dog. You must help me vent my anger." The young man glanced at the dead Rottweiler on the ground, and then looked at Qin Haodong coldly. When he saw Damao and Ermao standing beside him, his eyes lit up. He was a person who liked playing with dogs. At a glance, he could tell that these 2 dogs were definitely purebred snow mastiffs, worth more than 10 million yuan. At the same time, the 6 bodyguards behind him also saw Damao and Ermao. They only heard that there were 2 big dogs, but they didn't expect that they were 2 fierce Tibetan mastiffs. Even though they all had weapons in their hands, they still couldn't help but feel nervous. They all gathered together and tightly gripped the wooden sticks in their hands. In contrast, the young man was much calmer. Police the rod was his biggest reliance. Even the fiercest dog could not withstand 500,000 volts of high-voltage electricity. Seeming to feel the hostility of these people, the mane on Damao and Ermao's neck stood up, and they roared like thunder. The young man took 2 steps forward and said to Qin Haodong, "Boy, you have guts. You killed my dog and dared to bully my wife." Qin Haodong said lightly, "Your dog has gone crazy and bites people everywhere. It's right to kill it. Your wife is unreasonable. She's not as good as that dog. I'll help you teach her a lesson." The young man cried, "Boy, who gave you the courage? How dare you talk to me like this? Do you know who my father is? You have to ask your mother who your father is. Anyway, it's not me." Qin Haodong didn't like this kind of bully young man at all. He simply said, "I don't have time to waste with you. Tell me, what do you want to do?" The young man was so angry. If it weren't for Damao and Ermao, he would have rushed over to teach Qin Haodong a lesson. "Boy, no matter what the reason is, you have to pay for killing my dog." He shouted angrily, "I'll pay 500,000 yuan for killing my dog. I'll pay 500,000 yuan for overturning my car and bullying my wife. That's 1 million yuan in total." Qin Haodong sneered and said, 1 million yuan? Why don't you rob a bank?" He had always blackmailed others. The guy in front of him even wanted to blackmail him. The young man's expression suddenly changed and he said, "I also know that you can't get 1 million yuan. Well, you killed my dog and you compensate me for your 2 dogs." This guy really had a good plan. He even had an idea about Damao and Ermao. Qin Haodong sneered and said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" In the young man's view, Qin Haodong was afraid of him. He shouted arrogantly, "Of course I'm sure. Give me your 2 dogs, and I'll let it go. Otherwise, I'll destroy you." "Well, I'll give them to you if you want," Qin Haodong said and waved his hand. Damao and Ermao had been ready for a long time. After receiving the master's order, they immediately roared and rushed to the young man like 2 lions. The young man had an electric in his hand. Police shouted to the bodyguards, "Hurry up and stop them." The bodyguards formed a circle and waved the wooden sticks in their hands, trying to resist Damao and Ermao. However, they underestimated the power of 2 purebred snow mastiffs. After being transformed by the marrow cleansing pill and the spirit culturing pill, Damao and Ermao were more fierce than lions, wolves, tigers and leopards, and they were as fast as lightning. Before the bodyguards raised the wooden sticks in their hands, Damao and Ermao had already arrived in front of them and knocked down 4 bodyguards. The other 2 bodyguards saw that the situation was not good. They turned around and were about to run away, but they were thrown to the ground by Damao and Ermao, who followed them closely. The woman had been frightened by the 2 snow mastiffs. She grasped the young man's arm tightly, and her whole body began to tremble. The young man did not expect Damao and Ermao to be so fierce. 6 well-trained bodyguards were vulnerable. He quickly opened the baton and saw the blue arc about half a meter long. He was a little relieved and shouted, "Don't come over, or I will electrocute you." After Damao and Ermao defeated the 6 bodyguards, they looked directly at the young man, but they also seemed to know about electricity. Police the baton was so powerful that they did not rush to attack. Damao attracted the young man's attention in the front, while Ermao turned behind the young man. This time, the young man panicked. He did not expect that the 2 snow mastiffs were so smart that they would play the tactic of pincer attack. Police, there was only one baton. How could it resist 2 fierce Tibetan mastiffs? At this moment, the 2 snow mastiffs launched an attack together, but when Damao rushed to the young man, he suddenly stopped and let the electric baton go. Police the baton hit nothing, and Ermao jumped from behind and directly threw the young man to the ground. Police the baton fell a few meters away. Next, the 2 snow mastiffs started the game again. Damao was responsible for washing the faces of these people one by one, which scared them to scream. Ermao kept tearing their clothes, and this time it was more thorough. The young man and the 6 bodyguards were stripped naked, not even a piece of cloth was left. Then the 7 people learned to be smart. They lay on the ground tightly and buried their faces. At the same time, they also covered their breasts under their bodies, for fear that the 2 snow mastiffs would bite them off. "Let them stop! Let them stop!" The young man shouted wildly at Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong stepped to his side, looked at his naked body, and said jokingly, "The skin is very white, but I don't know if it suits the taste of Damao and Ermao. Please, hurry up and make these 2 dogs stop." The young man kept begging. "Is there a mistake? Didn't you just ask me to compensate you for these 2 dogs? I have agreed. Now they are your dogs." Damao seemed to cooperate with Qin Haodong. He stuck out his big tongue and licked the young man's butt, leaving a butt full of shiny saliva. The young man was so scared that he trembled all over and hurriedly cried, "No, I don't want any more. I don't want compensation." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "How can you do that? Your dogs are worth more than 300,000 yuan. They can't die in vain. Dying in vain is dying in vain. It deserves to die. Who let it bite people everywhere?" The young man pleaded, "Let them go quickly. I really don't want compensation." "That's good. Since you're willing, I'll take the 2 dogs back." Take it back quickly," the young man said hurriedly. Qin Haodong turned his head to look at the woman who was curled up next to him and asked, "Do you have a problem? Do you want compensation?" "No problem, I don't have a problem either." The woman originally found her husband to support her, but she didn't expect that 7 men were no match for the 2 dogs. Her voice trembled with fear. "I don't want compensation either. That dog deserves to die. If you knew it would be like this, why did you do it in the first place?" Qin Haodong shook his head, then took Damao, Ermao and the little fellow to the van, and then drove to the city. Seeing that the 2 Tibetan mastiffs finally left, the young man got up from the ground and scolded the back of the van, "Bastard, pretty boy, you wait. Zhu Hao will not let you go." After shouting, a mountain wind came, and he felt a chill. Only then did he realize that he was naked. Looking back, the clothes on the ground had been completely torn to pieces by Damao and Ermao, and there was no possibility of wearing them. Looking back at his 6 bodyguards, because the woman was watching, they could only continue to lie on the ground and clamp their legs tightly to avoid being exposed too much. Zhu Hao felt embarrassed again. He took the key of a car and handed it to the woman and said, you drive your own car back first. The woman already had a shadow here. She took the key and got in the car, ran away quickly, without looking at the dead Rottweiler on the ground. After she left, Zhu Hao asked the 6 bodyguards to get up and turn the SUV over again. Then the 7 of them drove 2 cars together to the city. Because they were all naked, they were eager to go back and get dressed, so they drove very fast and soon passed Qin Haodong's van. Qin Haodong glanced at the white in the car, and a playful smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He picked up his mobile phone and dialed 110. Soon the phone was connected, and a female operator asked politely, "Sir, this is 110. What can I do for you?" "I want to report that someone is driving naked, which seriously affects the city's appearance. Now it is on the outer ring road, and the license plate number is." Zhu Hao, who was driving all the way, suddenly found that there were policemen blocking the car in front of him. He wanted to rush over, but the road ahead was completely blocked, and there was no possibility of breaking through. He had no choice but to stop the car. Several policemen came to the window and said, "Someone reported you for indecent behavior. You are driving naked. Now come with us." Zhu Hao understood what was going on. He gritted his teeth and shouted, "Pretty boy, you dare to trick me. I will not spare you." Chapter 243. After teasing Zhu Hao, Qin Haodong took the little fellow directly to Daddy's security company. After lunch, he asked the little fellow, Dumao and Ermao to play on the training ground, and he began to upgrade all the members of the company collectively. The order of upgrading was from high to low. Shi Weiner reached the 2nd level of covert power after taking the spirit culturing elixir last time. She was the person with the highest cultivation in the whole company. Below her were Nalan Wushuang, Zhang Tiniu, Chen Fugue, Yao Qianqian, and the 6 people of the divine mercenaries, who were all stuck in the bottleneck of the 9th level of overt power. Qin Haodong sent someone to replace Yao Qianqian, Chen Fugue, and the divine mercenaries, who were on a mission. He gathered everyone in the underground warehouse and began a collective closed-door training. First, he asked Shi Weiner to sit cross-legged and gave her a spirit-strengthening elixir. Everyone was silent, and their eyes were focused on Shi Weiner's delicate cheeks. They wanted to see the effect of this elixir. Generally speaking, after the cultivation reached the covert power, every level was a huge threshold. She had just broken through, so it was very difficult for her to break through again. But with Qin Haodong, the medical sage, all kinds of high-level elixirs emerged one after another, and the breakthrough seemed to become very simple. 5 minutes after taking the spirit-strengthening elixir, Shi Weiner's breath began to rise gradually. 20 minutes later, it reached the peak with a bang. She broke through the 3rd level of covert power. Qin Haodong nodded. It seemed that the effect was good. He asked Shi Wan, to consolidate her cultivation, and then gave Nalan Wushuang and the others 2 elixirs, a foundation-building elixir and an energy-enhancing elixir. Half an hour later, Nalan Wushuang broke through first, and then others also broke the bottleneck of the 9th level of overt power and reached the level of covert power. Qin Haodong was not satisfied with this. After letting them spend an hour to consolidate their cultivation, he took the spirit-strengthening elixir again. Originally, this kind of continuous breakthrough was very risky, but with the protection of Emperor Green Wood, there was no possibility of Qigong deviation. In the process of breakthrough, Zhang Tiniu had a little deviation, but it was soon corrected by Qin Haodong, who redirected the chaotic genuine Qi back to the right track. After another hour, Nalan Wushuang and the others all reached the 2nd level of covert power. From now on, Daddy Security Company had more than a dozen masters above covert power. Even if all the masters of covert power in Jiangnan City were gathered together, they would not be as many as here. Not to mention their collective breakthrough and upgrade, the small yard of Lu Yage's house was very lively at the moment. It was so noisy that the threshold was almost broken by people. After Lu Yage and the cripple spread the news of the blood revival elixir in advance, more than 30 people came in the morning. These people had either seen Qin Haodong's magical medical skills last time or were brought here by them. Many people who got the news chose not to believe it. In their opinion, it was a joke that Chinese medicine could cure leukemia completely. It was impossible. After Lu Yage announced the price and requirements of the blood revival oral liquid to everyone, she officially began to sell the medicine. The first one to buy the medicine was Ma Sanbao. He had witnessed the magic of Qin Haodong's medical skills and the magic effect of the cripple, so he trusted the medicine created by Qin Haodong the most. After paying 2 yuan for the medicine and a deposit of 500 yuan, he hurriedly took a bottle of blood revival oral liquid and drank it up. Others were not in a hurry to buy the medicine, but waited to see the effect of Ma Sanbao's medicine. 5 minutes later, Ma Sanbao's spirit was getting better and better. The whole person seemed to be 10 years younger. His pale face was rosy, and several obvious lumps on his body had disappeared. He cried excitedly, "I'm all right. I'm really all right. Hurry up and buy it. The medicine developed by the medical sage is absolutely effective. If you don't believe the medical sage, you are a fool. I'm going to the hospital to have a blood test now." After that, he ran out of the yard and rushed to Jiangnan Hospital. With him as a living advertisement, people in the yard couldn't wait to buy the blood revival oral liquid. The medicine was only 2 yuan in total. They couldn't buy it at a loss, nor could they buy it at a loss. They were just afraid that they would eat other diseases. Now that they saw Ma Sanbao was full of energy, they had no more worries. Soon, more and more people took the blood revival oral liquid. These people couldn't help but shout excitedly. Those who had a fever stopped and the lumps on their bodies disappeared. Those who had been weak were now full of vigor. Everyone rushed to the hospital to have a blood test. On the way, they took out their mobile phones to call their friends. "Third brother, come quickly. The blood revival oral liquid is real. I just drank it. Now I feel very good. I'm going to the hospital to have a blood test. Second uncle, the results of my blood test came out. Guess what? All the indicators have returned to normal. I'm all right. I'm a healthy person now. Come quickly, or the oral liquid will be sold out. Tai Zi, the medical sage's medicine is really good. I've not only drunk it, but also had a blood test. All the blood indicators have returned to normal. I'm all right. I tell you, there are only 100 blood revival oral liquid. If you come late, you'll miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Under the promotion of many physical advertisements, a large number of leukemia patients swarmed to Lu Yage's home. Fortunately, there were Ma Sanbao and other cured patients to maintain order, otherwise it would be really chaotic. In the general manager's office of Wilson Pharmaceutical Company, Huang Weili was pacing back and forth. When he thought of the 2 million yuan he had lost, he felt a pain in his heart. He was determined to find a way to earn the money back. Just then, a little punk with a shaved head ran in from outside. "Boss, something happened. Something big happened." The little punk said breathlessly. "Look at you. Haven't you learned to calm down after following me for so long?" Huang Weili suddenly thought of something and said excitedly, "What's the big deal? Did you find out where Lu Yage hid the goods?" After he came back that day, he was still not reconciled. He had arranged several little punks to take turns to keep an eye on the vicinity of Lu Yage's home. As long as they found something, they would report to him immediately. "No, it's not about the goods." The little punk's breathing finally calmed down a little. "Then what the fuck is the big deal?" Huang Weili said with a disappointed face. He now dreamed of being able to find out Lu Yage's goods and then receive a bonus from the headquarters to make up for the 2 million yuan he had lost. "Boss, Lu Yage's family is selling medicine." Huang Weili said angrily, "Are you out of your mind? You say there is no news, and now you say you are selling medicine. Do you have medicine or not?" The little punk said, "Boss, I don't mean that. Lu Yage is selling a kind of traditional Chinese medicine that can cure leukemia. Huang Weili looked at the little punk with disdain and said, "Are you drunk? How could he spout such nonsense? Leukemia can't be cured in the world. How can there be a cure? Traditional Chinese medicine can't cure it." The little punk said eagerly, "Boss, it's true. I heard that the medicine developed by the young man known as the medical sage can really cure leukemia." Huang Weili became more and more impatient and said, "The more you talk, the more excited you are, right? You don't have leukemia. How do you know it works?" "Boss, I don't have leukemia, but I saw it with my own eyes." The little punk said, "Now there are a lot of people with leukemia who buy medicine there. After they take it, they are like different people. Moreover, many people have got back the test results. I heard that the blood items in the test have returned to normal. I pretended to be a leukemia patient and got in. I looked at the test sheets of several people. Indeed, all the indicators were normal." Hearing this, Huang Weili grabbed the collar of the little punk and said, "Are you sure you didn't lie to me?" "Boss, how dare I lie to you? I also know that this matter is of great importance, so I ran back to report it to you." Huang Weili cried with red eyes, "Did you really see the test sheets of those people?" "I've seen it. Not only their test results, but I've also carefully read their medical records. It's absolutely true. Lu Yage's way of selling medicine is very special. Everyone has to pay a deposit before buying medicine. When they get back the test results and medical records, they will hand in the deposit. I saw it with my own eyes. Those people are really cured." Huang Weili let go of the bald hooligan's collar and began to pace quickly on the ground. His brain was working at full speed. Everything in front of him was definitely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him. A Baikong sting, which could only inhibit leukemia, had been sold at a sky-high price. If he could get the formula to cure leukemia, it would be a great fortune. Not to mention 2 million yuan, even 2 million yuan could be obtained. He must get that kind of medicine in his hands. After making up his mind, he turned to the bald punk and said, "Is Lu Yage's family still selling medicine now?" "Still selling, but it should be soon. I heard that there are only 100 copies. There will be no more after they are sold out." Huang Weili took out a bank card and said, "Take this card and buy me a copy no matter how much it costs." The little punk said, "Boss, we can't buy their medicine, or I will bring one back for you." "How much?" "I have 1 million yuan in this card." "Isn't it enough to buy a copy?" Huang Weili asked. In his opinion, this kind of medicine that could cure leukemia at one time should definitely be sold at a sky-high price. It's not about money. Their medicine is very cheap, 2 yuan a copy. "What? How much?" Huang Weili almost bit his tongue. 2 yuan. The little punk held out 2 fingers and said, "Are you sure you're not kidding me?" Huang Weili couldn't believe it. The lunchbox was 10 yuan a copy. How could such a medicine be sold for 2 yuan? The little punk said with a face of grievance, "Boss, it's really 2 yuan. I saw many people buy it like this." Huang Weili said angrily, "Then why do you say it's difficult to buy? Are you a pig brain? Why don't you bring back a few copies?" "Boss, it's not about money." The little punk said, "They ask everyone to take out their own leukemia cases and drink it on the spot. No one is allowed to take it away. That's it." Huang Weili thought for a moment and said, "No matter what, you have to get me a copy of that medicine. As long as you get 1 copy, I will reward you 20,000 yuan." Hearing the 20,000 yuan bonus, the little punk's eyes lit up, but then he said disappointedly, "Boss, I really can't buy it. I don't have a leukemia case, and people ask to drink it on the spot. I'm not allowed to take it back unless I rob it." "Then let's go rob them. Anyway, you have to get it back for me, or get out of here." Huang Weili said, "If you can't do it alone, call a few more people. I don't care what you do, you have to get me a copy of the medicine." "Okay, boss, I'm going." The little punk left the general manager's office, then called a few associates and hurried to Lu Yage's home. Chapter 244. In Lu Yage's home, the sales of the blood revival oral liquid in the morning were not too hot. At the beginning, everyone was in a wait-and-see state, so only 30 or 40 bottles were sold in the morning. But as more and more people got the blood test reports, leukemia patients who got the news swarmed in. After noon, the whole small courtyard was full. Fortunately, Ma Sanbao, the lame man, and others did not leave. They stayed with Lu Yage to maintain order. They collected the deposit and checked the medical records. It was in good order. The number of blood revival oral liquid was limited. Soon, there was only one bottle left. At this time, a bald patient wearing a big mask came to Lu Yage. He gave Ma Sanbao a deposit of 500 yuan and 2 yuan for the medicine. Then he gave the medical record in his hand to the lame man and reached out to Lu Yage to get the medicine. Cripple took the medical record book. He thought that this was the last one and wanted to call it a day. However, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. This medical record book was much newer than the others. When he opened it, the date was clearly from today, and the cause was a cold. No, this medical record is fake. The lame man cried to Lu Yage, "You can't give him medicine. This man is a liar." Lu Yage had handed the medicine to the bald patient at this time. Hearing the lame man's cry, she was slightly stunned. She did not expect this to happen. At that moment, the bald patient snatched the glass bottle from her hand, turned around, and ran. He was the bald gangster sent by Huang Weili to grab the medicine. Fortunately, he came in time and caught up with the last one. Lu Yage realized that the man was here to grab the medicine. She hurriedly cried, "Catch him." The man took the last medicine away. The patients in the hospital were disappointed. Hearing Lu Yage's cry, they immediately became excited. The last medicine was taken away. As long as they got it back, it was likely to be their own. Catch the bald man and get the medicine back. Amidst the roars and shouts, the crowd pounced on the bald-headed hooligan. However, the guy was prepared. Under the cover of several accomplices, he quickly rushed out of the yard, jumped on a motorcycle that was running, and ran away. The people in the courtyard cursed at the back of the gangster, but there was nothing they could do. The medicine in Lu Yage's hand was completely sold out. The patients in the hospital were happy to buy the medicine. Those who didn't buy the medicine stamped their feet and beat their chests, regretting that they didn't believe it at the beginning. Although the medicine had been sold out, these people still gathered in the yard and were reluctant to disperse for a long time. The cripple sorted out the medical records and test sheets in his hands and handed them to Lu Yage. He sighed and said, "It's a pity that one of the pills was stolen. Now there are only 99 medical records and laboratory results." Lu Yage said, "When Dr. Qin comes, I will explain to him. It should not have much impact. Plus your share, there are exactly 100. Ma Sanbao cursed, "I don't know where this grandson came from. It's not good to rob, but he wants to rob the medicine." Lu Yage said, "Although Dr. Qin only sells this medicine for 2 yuan, if you take it to the black market, people will fight for it for 200,000 yuan. It's normal for some people to think about it. I was too careless and failed to live up to Dr. Qin's expectations." At this point, a hint of guilt appeared on her face. The cripple said, "It's my fault. I didn't check his medical records in time. It was too late when I found it." Just as they were blaming each other, there was a noise outside the courtyard. 7 or 8 reporters carrying long and short cameras came in. When they learned that Lu Yage was in charge, they immediately surrounded her. It turned out that a reporter named Lu Haiyang had gone to the hospital to take blood tests. He happened to meet a large number of leukemia patients who had been re-examined after being cured. When he learned that there was a medicine that could cure leukemia, his keen professional sense made him realize that this was a heavyweight news. Therefore, he didn't care about seeing a doctor. He immediately reported to the leader of his unit and then came here with his colleagues and interview equipment. When he arrived here, he found that he was not the only one who got the news. Reporters from several other news media units also rushed here. Lu Haiyang asked first, "Miss Lu, I want to ask you. Did you just sell a medicine that claimed to cure leukemia?" Lu Yage used to be a top graduate of the Jiangnan Institute of Foreign Languages. She had been a translator for many years, so she was no stranger to reporters. At the same time, she was very sensitive. She didn't know if Qin Haodong was willing to be interviewed by reporters or if he was willing to expose the blood revival oral liquid to the media. She hesitated and didn't answer this question. However, the cripple didn't think so much. He was very grateful after being cured by Qin Haodong. At this time, when he saw a reporter interview him, he immediately wanted to make Qin Haodong famous. He rushed to say, "Yes, we just sold 100 portions of the blood revival oral liquid. It was given to us by the medical sage." Seeing that the cripple had spoken, Lu Yage couldn't stop him. She could only let him go on. Lu Haiyang continued to ask, "Sir, can this blood revival oral liquid really cure leukemia? Everyone knows that leukemia is an incurable disease. Is this a hype?" Hearing someone questioning Qin Haodong, the cripple was immediately unhappy. He said with a sullen face, "Leukemia can't be cured because you haven't met the medical sage. If you had met him earlier, you would have been cured. Leukemia is just a piece of cake in the eyes of the medical sage." At this time, another reporter asked, "Sir, who are you? Why do you always speak for the medical sage? Who is this medical sage? You are a reporter. Why don't you even know the medical sage? Haven't you seen the news that the medical sage cured old Maldini some time ago?" The cripple despised the reporter and continued to say, "The medical sage is Dr. Qin. Although he is only in his 20s, his medical skills are absolutely unparalleled. As for why I speak for him, it is because he cured my illness. He not only cured my leukemia, but also cured my leg that had been lame for more than 10 years. From a professional point of view, what a reporter wanted was news points and click-through rates." At this time, another reporter said, "Sir, I think what you said is a little too outrageous. Is the medical sage so magical? Could it be that you're a shill for him?" This question, which was similar to a provocation method, immediately aroused the lame man's anger. He said angrily, "How could I be a shill? Today, the medical sage sold 100 portions of the blood revival oral liquid and cured 100 leukemia patients. Ask them if these people are shills. The medical sage is not a shill. The medical sage is our savior. You are not allowed to insult him. Dr. Qin is the best doctor in Huaxia. His medical skills are unparalleled. He is a medical sage. Dr. Qin is a really good doctor. He has a benevolent heart. Long live Dr. Qin." These cured patients were really grateful to Qin Haodong. Not only had he cured their leukemia, but he had also only charged 2 yuan for a portion of medicine. For them, he was a life-saving living bodhisattva. For a time, the cheers of "Long live" were earth-shattering and resounding through the sky. At the same time, the cameras in the hands of the reporters kept crackling, capturing this rare scene. At Jiangnan Hospital, when it was almost time to get off work, Zhang Xiaoping, the attending doctor of the hematology department, hurried into the office of Zhang Xiaoan, the vice director, with a thick stack of medical records. "Yesterday's medical record was not my misdiagnosis. Someone really can cure leukemia," Zhang Xiaoping said excitedly. Zhang Xiaoan said, "How is that possible? Leukemia is an incurable disease. This is the world's consensus. Even if there is a day when it can be cured, the first case will not appear in Jiangnan City. It must appear in the World Medical Association of M country." Zhang Xiaoping said, "Brother, you are wrong this time. Look at what this is." As he spoke, he handed a stack of medical records in his hand to Zhang Xiaoan. Zhang Xiaoan looked through the medical records in his hand, and the expression on his face became more and more surprised. Finally, he said, so many leukemia patients were cured at one time? Is this true? Is there something wrong with the computer program? Absolutely not. Zhang Xiaoping said, "First of all, I have seen the patients in these cases. They are really in good spirits, no different from normal people. In addition, I have also inquired that it is not only our hospital that has received so many leukemia patients. For example, the Central Hospital and the Chinese Medicine Hospital have also received many similar cases. They all suffered from leukemia in the early stage, and now they are cured at one time. So this is not a problem with our computer." My God! Who the hell is this? He cured so many leukemia patients at one time. Is it a world-famous expert who came to Jiangnan City? Zhang Xiaoan raised his hand and patted his head, which was a little swollen because of the excessive shock. He asked, "Have you ever found out what is going on? How many leukemia patients have been cured? Which hematology specialist did it this time?" Zhang Xiaoping said, "Brother, you are wrong again this time. I have inquired about it. It is a young Chinese medicine practitioner in his 20s who cured these leukemia patients. His name is Qin Haodong. He has just invented a new medicine called blood revival oral liquid. As long as the patients take this medicine, they will be cured immediately. According to those patients, Qin Haodong only sold 100 portions of blood revival oral liquid today. All patients who have taken this medicine have been cured 100% of the time. That is to say, this medicine has no risks and the cure rate is very high. Oh my God, how is this possible? How is this possible?" Zhang Xiaoan was so shocked that day. As an expert in Western medicine, he had never been optimistic about Chinese medicine. He did not expect that Chinese medicine would teach him a lesson today. He had magically developed an effective medicine to cure leukemia. After calming down, he said, "Take your things and come with me to see the dean." Zhang Xiaoping did not respond for a moment. He asked in astonishment, "Brother, is it necessary to report this to the dean?" Zhang Xiaoan said, "Are you stupid? Don't you see how important this is? As long as we can invite the doctor named Qin Haodong to our hospital, or buy his formula and apply for a patent, then our Jiangnan hospital will develop from then on. We can become the world's top hospital by treating leukemia patients alone." Yes, why didn't I think of that? Zhang Xiaoping patted his head and said, "Brother, you can be the deputy dean, and I can only be an attending doctor. I really don't have a big picture." After that, they hurried to the office of Dean Wenchangjiang. After listening to their introduction, Dean Wenchangjiang looked at the stack of medical records and then let out a long sigh. Zhang Xiaoan asked in confusion, "Dean, why are you sighing?" "I think this is a good opportunity. If we can invite Qin Haodong to our hospital or buy the patent right of his formula, our hospital will go up several steps and become the first-class hospital in Huaxia and even the world's top hospital." When Changjiang said, "You two don't know yet. Qin Haodong was an intern in our hospital, but I fired him later." Chapter 245. An intern? And he was fired? Zhang Xiaoan and Zhang Xiaoping opened their mouths in surprise. They didn't expect that this great man, who could develop a magic medicine to cure leukemia, used to be an intern in their hospital and was eventually kicked out by the director. But how could such a rare talent be fired? Qin Haodong was not in their department when he was an intern, and the firing of a small intern would not cause too much impact, so they didn't know. When Changjiang sighed again and briefly told them what had happened to Qin Haodong in Jiangnan Hospital. Finally, he said bitterly, "It's all that bastard Ma Guoqiang's fault. Otherwise, how could a medical genius like Qin Haodong leave our hospital?" At this time, he regretted it very much. If he had kept Qin Haodong in his hospital, it would have been easy to get the formula. Only then did the Zhang brothers know why Ma Guoqiang, who had once been very popular, had lost the title of chief physician. It turned out that this was the root cause. Zhang Xiaoan said, "Director, anyway, we are still familiar with Qin Haodong, and it has been so long. If we invite him and give him a higher salary, maybe he will come back. Zhang Xiaoping said, yes, director. Even if he doesn't come back, we can spend money to buy the patent of the formula. Wen Chengjiang said, you're right. For the development of Jiangnan Hospital, we have to work hard anyway. Then he took out his mobile phone and began to dial Qin Haodong's phone number. Last time Qin Haodong's surgery cured old Maldini's tumor, he realized that this young man had a promising future. He asked Pan Gaofeng, the director of the sanitary bureau, for Qin Haodong's phone number. It came in handy today. However, after a long time, the signal on the phone could not be connected. What's wrong, director? Can't you get through? Zhang Xiaoan asked. The signal can't be connected. Maybe he turned off his phone. Wen Chengjiang didn't know that Qin Haodong was with his men to upgrade. His phone had been put into the storage ring. Zhang Xiaoping said, Director, is it possible that he knows that many people will look for him after the blood revival oral liquid comes out, so he deliberately hides? It's possible. Wen Chengjiang thought for a moment and said, Qin Haodong is now working in Lin's group. Let's go to Lin's group tomorrow morning and talk to him face to face. At the same time, Jiangnan Central Hospital and Jiangnan Chinese Medicine Hospital were also urgently discussing the issue of the blood revival oral liquid. They wanted to talk with Qin Haodong about the patent purchase as soon as possible, but they couldn't find him. Near dusk, in the Daddy Security Company, Qin Haodong helped Nailan Wushuang and the others improve their cultivation and walked out of the basement. He did not know that he had caused a great shock in Jiangnan City. He took out a large bag of big spirit culturing pills and gave it to Zhang Tiniu, asking him to distribute them to the employees of the company one by one to further improve the cultivation of each security guard. Zhang Tiniu secretly sighed in his heart. He had really chosen the right boss. Elixirs that could improve cultivation could be sold at a sky-high price and even set off a bloody storm in Jianghu, but Qin Haodong gave them to them as if they were beans. Then, Qin Haodong took out some energy-increasing elixirs and big strengthening elixirs and sent them to Ma Wenjue in Shanghai. He had just arranged things when Ma Wenjue called. After answering the phone, Qin Haodong said, How is it? Are you having a good time in Shanghai? Of course it's good. Who do you think Brother Ma is? Ma Wenjue said excitedly, Dongzi, I'm now at the second level of covert power. Am I powerful? Have you already suppressed Warner and become the #1 expert in our company? He often said that he was the #1 master in the world, but he also knew that it was just a joke. However, being the #1 master in the Daddy Security Company had always been his ambition. Therefore, after arriving in Shanghai, he seized all the time to practice. Coupled with his Kailan holy body, his cultivation made rapid progress and he had just reached the second level of covert power. This guy was so excited. After stabilizing his cultivation a little, he immediately called Qin Haodong and wanted to show off. Qin Haodong said, You mean Wan? She has just reached the third level of covert power. Ma Wenjue had just taken a sip of water, but he spat it out and exclaimed, What? How is that possible? Are you lying to me? Why is it impossible? Just now, Wushuang, the divine mercenaries, Zhang Tiniu, and Shen Fugue have all reached the first level of covert power, so you have to hurry up and practice, or you are likely to be the worst in our company. Qin Haodong didn't hesitate to attack Ma Wenjue. He seemed to have seen his good brother's distorted face. Ma Wenjue was so aggrieved. He originally wanted to show off his cultivation progress, but he didn't expect to be the slowest in the company. However, he was still a little unwilling and said, What about you? How are you now? How can I be a little stronger than you? Of course, he was unwilling to be defeated. He wanted to use this to make a comeback. The last time he left, Qin Haodong was only at the 9th level of overt power. No matter how fast his cultivation was, he couldn't surpass him. Qin Haodong smiled and said, I am indeed a little slow. I have just reached the 5th level of covert power. After he finished speaking, he heard the sound of a chair falling over on the other side of the phone. Ma Wenjua had been beaten black and blue. He got up from the ground, picked up the phone again and said, "What kind of monster are you? Did you take a rocket? How can you improve so fast?" Qin Haodong said, "I just refined a new batch of elixirs. I have sent someone to send them to you. It is estimated that you will receive them tomorrow morning. At that time, you can at least improve by 1 level." Ma Wenjua knew why everyone had improved as a whole. It was not because their qualifications were better than his, but because of Qin Haodong's elixirs. He said excitedly, "That's great. You are my good brother after all. I don't care if you surpass me. I can't let one or surpass me. Hurry up and practice. Don't be busy with girls all the time. Otherwise, you may really become the worst in our company. My brother Xiao Ma is very talented. How can he be the worst? Just wait for me to surpass you, scum." The two men quarreled for a while and then hung up. After everything was done, Qin Haodong took his daughter Ndamao and Ermao to Lu Yage's house. After seeing him, Lu Yage said guiltily, "Dr. Qin, I'm sorry. I didn't do what you asked me to do." "What's wrong? Didn't you sell the elixirs?" Qin Haodong asked in astonishment. In his opinion, the effect of the blood revival oral liquid was amazing, so it should sell very well. No, the elixirs sold very well. They were sold out soon, but one was robbed. I only have 99 recovered medical records in my hand now. Lu Yage said as she sent the medical records in the file bag to Qin Haodong. "Oh. It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal to lose one." Qin Haodong comforted Lu Yage and said, "How could someone rob the elixirs? Do you know who did it?" Lu Yage told him about the bald gangster who pretended to be a leukemia patient and robbed the blood revival oral liquid. Finally, she said, "I don't know that person, but later I heard from others that I had seen that person in Wilson Company. He was a gangster under Huang Weili." "Huang Weili, this guy is quite fast." Qin Haodong smiled but didn't care. Once the blood revival oral liquid went on the market, it would inevitably attract the attention of Wilson Company. This was what he had expected, but he hadn't expected it to come so fast. Lu Yage said worriedly, "Dr. Qin, I guess Huang Weili must have a bad idea. The reason why he sent people to rob the elixirs is to study the blood revival oral liquid. The laboratory of Wilson Company is very powerful. If the formula is cracked by them, your loss will be great. You'd better take the formula and apply for a patent. I used to have a classmate who worked in the patent office. Do you want me to contact him?" Qin Haodong smiled confidently and said, "No need. Let them play with it. No one in the world can crack my formula." What a joke. How could the elixir refined by Emperor Green would be so easily deciphered by others? No matter how advanced their instruments were, it would not work. Oh. That's a relief. Lu Yage breathed a sigh of relief. When she learned that the stolen blood revival oral liquid was likely to cause the formula to be cracked, she had been worried about it. Now she was relieved. After putting away the medical records, Qin Haodong asked, "Sister Lu, Nyonyo has been cured. What are you going to do next?" Lu Yage said, "I haven't thought about it yet, but I'm going to take care of Nyonyo and go to school first, and then find a job." Qin Haodong said, "I'm going to set up a pharmaceutical company soon. Come and help me." Through these 2 days of observation, he still appreciated Lu Yage very much. This woman seemed to be weak but had a firm character. Moreover, she was cultured, smart, and capable of handling affairs. She would definitely be the best assistant to Lin Momo if she was trained well. That's great. Thank you, Dr. Qin. Lu Yage was overjoyed and said. She had been taking care of the sick Nyonyo at home for 2 years. Her resume was blank, so it was very difficult for her to go out and find a job. Well, that's settled. You should arrange your family as soon as possible. Wait for my call. I should go to work soon. Then Qin Haodong returned to Lin's villa with 99 medical records. Lin Momo had already gotten off work. When she saw Qin Haodong enter the house, she said excitedly, "Today, the board of directors has preliminarily agreed that as long as you can provide evidence that the blood revival oral liquid can completely cure leukemia, the company will agree with your proposal and give you 51% of the shares." "No problem. The evidence is all here." Qin Haodong gave Lin Momo the 99 medical records he had just retrieved, plus the lame man's one. "Great. With these things, the board of directors will definitely approve it," Lin Momo said excitedly. After the discussion, they went to have dinner together, but they didn't know that there was a huge wave on the internet. In the era of new media, the speed of news was amazing, almost synchronized with the events. After interviewing the lame man in the afternoon, the reporters immediately posted the materials in their hands on the internet. They all raced against time to beat other colleagues and win the first time to break the news. The medical sage has made a move again. He has miraculously cured leukemia patients, benefiting Huaxia. Chinese medicine shines again. Leukemia patients can be completely cured, creating the first miracle in the world of medicine. The blood revival oral liquid can completely cure leukemia. It only costs 2 yuan each. The doctor's benevolence illuminates people's hearts. For a time, similar news dominated the headlines of major media websites. Then, some patients who had been cured came forward to talk about their personal experiences of being cured by the blood revival oral liquid. At the same time, they expressed their infinite worship and admiration for Qin Haodong, the medical sage. His photos could be seen everywhere on major websites. However, soon there were voices of opposition. All kinds of posts questioning Qin Haodong's falsification emerged like bamboo shoots after a rain. Chapter 246. The declining traditional Chinese medicine is so shameless that it made up fake news about the cure of leukemia. Leukemia is an unconquerable problem in the world. Do you believe it? I don't believe it. A young Chinese medicine practitioner calls himself a medical sage and spends money to hype up the cure of leukemia. Where is his bottom line? After these posts came out, they immediately aroused strong opposition from the supporters of traditional Chinese medicine and the patients who were cured by Qin Haodong. From the beginning to the end, both sides attacked each other and cursed each other. They quarreled on the internet. Zhu Hao and his 6 bodyguards were taken to the police station by the police. Finally, they used a lot of connections to get away. It was already dark when they put on the clothes sent by the women. "Toy boy, just wait and see. I'll teach you a lesson." After cursing Qin Haodong 10,001 times, Zhu Hao stepped into the house. When he entered the house, his father, Zhu Baiwen, the director of the drug administration, was sitting on the leather sofa in the living room, looking at a laptop. Seeing Zhu Hao enter the door, Zhu Baiwen scolded him, "Where have you been? You're not a child anymore. Can't you do something serious? Don't just eat, drink, gamble, and play with women all day long." Zhu Hao was full of anger and immediately said angrily, "Why don't I do something serious? You've made so much money. Who else should you spend it on if not me? Besides, I've made a lot of money for you these years." Zhu Baiwen said angrily, "If it weren't for me, who would give you money?" Zhu Hao said stiffly, "So what? If I wasn't the middleman, would you dare to accept the money directly? You." Zhu Baiwen was rendered speechless by his son. He then pointed to the laptop and said, "Look at him. He's also in his 20s, but he actually developed a new drug that can cure leukemia. You're almost 30. What else can you do besides spending money and causing trouble?" Zhu Hao said indifferently, "So what if he's good? Is he your son? I'll take care of you when you die." After that, he sat down beside Zhu Baiwen, grabbed an apple on the tea table, and ate it in big mouthfuls. Zhu Baiwen couldn't do anything about this good-for-nothing son of his. He shook his head and continued to browse his web page. Zhu Hao ate the apple and glanced at the computer screen carelessly. Suddenly, his expression froze and he exclaimed, "Don't move. Let me have a look." He took the laptop from Zhu Baiwen, opened the page, and saw Qin Haodong's photo on it. Isn't he F*King taking care of his gigolo today? Zhu Hao browsed through the contents of the webpage again. It turned out that this was the person who had invented the new leukemia drug that his father had just mentioned. Zhu Baiwen asked, "What's wrong? You know Qin Haodong? Let me tell you, this young man is extraordinary. If you know him, you must be as close to him as possible. In the future, you will definitely benefit from him." "Close my ass," Zhu Hao said angrily. "I have a grudge against him, and I'm looking for him everywhere." Zhu Baiwen said, "He is the medical sage who can cure leukemia." "How did he offend you?" "Bullsh*t, Zhu Hao said, "Don't think that I don't know. Leukemia is F*King terminal disease. Who can cure it? This must be fake news. Don't you see that so many people are scolding him for hype?" Zhu Baiwen said, "Nonsense. I have already investigated and verified with the hospital. Those patients have indeed been cured, and all the examination indicators have returned to normal. Don't doubt others if you can't do it yourself." "Is what you said true?" Zhu Hao said with his eyes wide open. "Of course it's true. I don't have time to joke with you." Zhu Hao said excitedly, "Old man, if we get this medicine that can cure leukemia, won't we be rich? When we get the money, we can go abroad. You don't have to worry about the money all day." Zhu Baiwen glared at him and said, "The prescription for leukemia is a treasure bowl. If you can get it, of course you will be rich. But how can he give it to you? Don't worry about that. I have a way. I'll go to that guy tomorrow and make him hand over the formula." In the past, relying on the power in Zhu Baiwen's hands, Zhu Hao had done a lot of extortion, so in his opinion, it was not difficult to get the prescription for leukemia from Qin Haodong. Zhu Baiwen said, "Boy, don't mess around. If something happens, it will be troublesome." Zhu Hao said confidently, "Don't worry, I know what to do. Nothing has happened for a long time." In a luxurious villa, a middle-aged man was sitting on the sofa, staring at the computer screen in front of him. At this time, the door opened and a gloomy young man came in. He said to the middle-aged man, "Father, I have already asked my friends in the hospital. The news is true. That guy really developed a traditional Chinese medicine that can cure leukemia. It is called the Blood Revival Oral Liquid. A total of 99 bottles of Blood Revival Oral Liquid were sold today. All the leukemia patients who have taken this medicine have all recovered to normal levels. That is to say, they are all cured." The middle-aged man leaned his head on the sofa and said, "It's really a surprise that someone can really develop a medicine that can cure leukemia completely." He was Luo Jin, the head of Luo's pharmaceutical company in Jiangnan, and the young man was his son, Luo Qingming. Luo Jin and his son were also famous figures in the medical industry in Jiangnan. 3 years ago, they had led Luo's pharmaceutical company to be listed in M country and become the only listed pharmaceutical company in Jiangnan city. They were the leaders of the industry. Luo Qingming said, "We used to look down on traditional Chinese medicine. I didn't expect it to give us such a big surprise. We can really overcome the difficulty of leukemia with some grass roots, bark, and rotten leaves. A good cat is a good cat that can catch mice. It doesn't matter whether it's traditional Chinese medicine or Western medicine. It can cure diseases and make money for us. This traditional Chinese medicine formula is a golden hen that can lay eggs." Luo Jin suddenly sat up from the sofa and said with his eyes shining, "The formula of the Blood Revival Oral Liquid is in the hands of that young Chinese medicine practitioner. As long as we can get it, Luo's pharmaceutical company will soar in our hands and be unstoppable." Luo Qingming said gloomily, "Father, why don't I take someone to tie him up now? As long as he enters our Luo's group, I don't believe that he won't tell us the formula. You should change your way of thinking. Don't think about fighting and killing all day long." Luo Jin said, although our Luo's group started from the underworld, we are now serious businessmen. Luo's pharmaceutical company is also operating in a completely legal way. It's not easy to change from a black to a white. Now that we're clean, we can't go back to being black. Besides, I don't know how many eyes are staring at that young Chinese medicine practitioner now. If you tie him up today, you will be arrested by the Public Security Bureau tomorrow. Luo Qingming said, "What are we going to do?" Luo Jin said, "Go through the normal channels first. Tomorrow, you will talk to the young Chinese medicine practitioner. You can either cooperate with him to invest or buy the patent right of his formula. If it doesn't work, you can consider extreme measures. If we negotiate with him, what's our bottom line?" Luo Jin said, "If it's a joint venture, we can let him invest with his technology. As for the equity, we can even give him more than 50%. Luo Qingming said eagerly, "Father, how can we do that? In any case, we have to achieve absolute control. Otherwise, the company will not be under our control in the future." "You're wrong." Luo Jin waved his hand and said with a scheming look, "As long as he cooperates with us, no matter how many shares he controls, the company will be in our hands in the end. He is a young Chinese medicine practitioner who knows nothing. Can he manage the company by himself? So the most important thing now is to get his formula. As long as we have the formula, he may suddenly have a car accident one day." Speaking of this, Luo Jin laughed sinisterly. He used to be an underground hero in Jiangnan City, even earlier than Long Haisheng. Although he later became a businessman, he still couldn't get rid of the gangster mentality. "I understand, father. You are far-sighted." Luo Qingming nodded repeatedly, but he said, "If he doesn't cooperate with us and asks to sell the formula at once, what's our bottom line?" 2 billion. If he is willing to sell the formula, we can pay 2 billion yuan at most. 2 billion yuan is too much, isn't it? How many female stars can he sleep with? How many luxury cars can he buy with that? Luo Qingming said painfully. "You're still too short-sighted. You have to look at everything in the long term. As long as we get the formula of this medicine, we can do some publicity, and the company's stock will rise more than that amount in the stock market." "I see, father," Luo Qingming said. "It's good that you know. Go to negotiate with Qin Haodong tomorrow. No matter how we cooperate, no matter what method you use, you must get the formula." After discussing the details, Luo Qingming left the room. Luo Jin poured himself a glass of red wine and took a sip. His face was full of uncontrollable excitement, as if he had seen the hope of success. He didn't know that Luo Qingming didn't intend to pay 2 billion yuan for the formula at all. In Luo Qingming's opinion, since he could get the formula by other means, why should he pay for it? In any case, he couldn't give up such a large sum of money. In the Jiangnan branch of Wilson Company, a middle-aged fat man in a white coat stood in front of Huang Weili. He was Dr. Jiang Tao, the chief researcher of the company's laboratory. Huang Weili asked expectantly, "Dr. Jiang, I heard that the test results of the liquid have come out. How is it? Can you decipher the formula?" Jiang Tao waved his hand and said, "I don't know what you're going to do with this thing. After a series of tests, there is nothing useful except plant fiber in it. I don't understand what the formula you're talking about is." At first, Huang Weili didn't tell Jiang Tao what the test was for in order to keep it a secret. Now he had to say it, so he said, "Dr. Jiang, to tell you the truth, this is a medicine that can cure leukemia. It's called blood revival oral liquid. If we can decipher its formula, the head office will reward us. Can this green liquid, which is all plant fiber, cure leukemia?" "Are you kidding me?" Jiang Tao said disdainfully, "Leukemia is an incurable disease. There is no cure at all. Even if this problem can be overcome in the future, it won't appear in Huaxia. Manager Huang, I'm very busy. I hope you won't disturb my work with such boring things." Huang Weili quickly said, "Dr. Jiang, what I said is true. This liquid is really effective. It has cured many leukemia patients. However, Jiang Tao completely sneered at his words. Manager Huang, I'm really busy. I don't have time to waste on you. After that, Jiang Tao turned around and went back to the laboratory, leaving Huang Weili stamping his feet in anger. Chapter 247. He walked around on the ground twice. It was as if he had found a treasure house, but he couldn't find the key. The effect of the blood revival oral liquid had been verified in practice, so there was no problem. Since the researchers here couldn't crack the formula, he could only hand it over to the headquarters. In any case, as long as the blood revival oral liquid could be produced in large quantities, he would get a big bonus. Thinking of this, he took out his mobile phone and dialed Davis, the big boss of Wilson Company. The phone rang for a long time before a lazy voice said, "You're disturbing me so early. Give me a good reason, or you'll die." Only then did Huang Weili realize that with the time difference between M Country and Huaxia, it was exactly 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning over there, and this big boss had the habit of sleeping late. "Mr. Davis, I do have something very important to report to you," he said carefully. "Someone in Huaxia has developed a new drug to cure leukemia." "Mr. Davis, I'm talking about a complete cure, not a remission. Now I've got a sample of this drug and I want to send it back to the company's headquarters. If the company can crack the formula of this drug, it'll be like having one more money printing machine." On the other side of the phone, Davis sat up from the bed and shouted at the phone, "Huang Weili, are you sure today is not April Fool's Day?" "Mr. Davis, I wouldn't dare lie to you. I'm telling the truth. This medicine is called the blood revival oral liquid. Many people in Huaxia have been cured." "Oh my God, how could this be?" Davis slapped his big bald head hard. It was known that B. Constantine brought huge profits to Wilson Company every year, even accounting for more than half of the company's total profits. If someone developed a drug that could cure leukemia completely, it would definitely be a disaster for them. After taking a deep breath and calming down, he asked Huang Weili about the blood revival oral liquid. "Huang, are you sure you're not lying to me? Didn't you tell me that traditional Chinese medicine is the most useless medical skill? How could they cure leukemia?" Huang Weili said awkwardly, "Mr. Davis, I don't know what's going on, but the blood revival oral liquid is really effective for leukemia. On the first day, 100 patients were cured. The cure rate is 100%. Davis said, "Send someone to send it to M City by plane as soon as possible. Remember to be quick. Don't waste too much time." As the big boss of a pharmaceutical group, he had calmed down a lot. He believed that with his company's scientific research strength, as long as he got the blood revival oral liquid, he would soon be able to decipher the formula and achieve mass production one step ahead of Huaxia. "Yes, Mr. Davis. I'll arrange it now." Huang Weili hung up the phone and hurried to find his female secretary. He asked her to take half of the blood revival oral liquid and take the next flight to M Country. That night, the blood revival oral liquid had stirred up 1,000 ripples, which had shaken the entire pharmaceutical industry. The next morning, Qin Haodong and Lin Momo sent the little fellow, who had been absent for a long time, back to kindergarten, and then went to Lin's group to hold a board meeting. There was only one topic of the meeting, which was the establishment of a large-scale pharmaceutical enterprise by Lin's group and Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong introduced the situation of the blood revival oral liquid and distributed 100 medical records to the directors present. After seeing the real effect of the blood revival oral liquid, the vote was 100% approved by Qin Haodong's proposal. Zhao Zhongchen and his son also voted in favor of it. Although they had opinions about Qin Haodong, it did not prevent them from making money. After all, the effect of the blood revival oral liquid was obvious. Once it was built and put into production, it would be a treasure bowl. Colorful money would flow into their pockets continuously. Since the board of directors had unanimously approved it, Qin Haodong and Lin Momo signed a cooperation agreement. Lin's group would invest too. 5 billion yuan to control 49% of the shares, while Qin Haodong would invest 500 million yuan and technology to control 51% of the shares. At the same time, because Qin Haodong had absolute control, the new company used the name he proposed, Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company, Limited. The president of the company was still Lin Momo, who was also responsible for the establishment of the company. When forming the team of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company, Qin Haodong proposed that Lu Yage be Lin Momo's personal assistant. Naturally, Lin Momo would not object. She immediately informed Lu Yage to come to work and start to work on the establishment of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company. After the discussion, Qin Haodong became a hands-off boss again. Everything was handed over to Lin Momo. He went directly back to the infirmary to continue working as a healthcare doctor. As soon as he entered the room, he saw Wen Changjiang, the director of Jiangnan Hospital, chatting with Fatty Zhang, followed by Zhang Shaoan and Zhang Xiaoping. Fatty Zhang was just a healthcare doctor who could not enter a regular hospital. When he saw the director of Jiangnan Hospital, he was busy making tea and chatting with the three people with a flattering face. Wen Changjiang had just picked up the teacup. When he saw Qin Haodong enter the door, he quickly stood up and stretched out his hands to greet him enthusiastically. "Dr. Qin, you're back." Although Qin Haodong did not hate Wen Changjiang, he did not have any good impression of him. It was easy for him to guess the purpose of his visit at this time. He casually reached out and shook hands, then said lightly, "Deputy Director, what can I do for you?" "Here's the thing, Dr. Qin. I'm here to recruit talents on behalf of Jiangnan Hospital today." Wen Changjiang said with a smile on his face, "Dr. Qin, it's a waste of talent for you to be a healthcare doctor here with your medical skills. Now our hospital just needs a deputy director. As long as you agree, you can go to Jiangnan Hospital now." Fatty Zhang's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They were both healthcare doctors, but why was there such a big gap between them? He worried all day that he would be laid off, but Qin Haodong could easily be the deputy director of a top hospital. Qin Haodong smiled slightly and returned to his seat. He said lightly, "Thank you for your kindness, Director Wen. It's good for me to be a healthcare doctor here. I won't go to your place to make trouble." He refused. Although Zhang Jijian knew that Qin Haodong was very powerful, he did not expect that he could even refuse the position of deputy director. A college student who had not yet graduated did not even want to be a deputy director. Did he want to go to heaven? He was extremely indignant, but he could only take a cup to the side and drink silently. Wen Changjiang was slightly disappointed and said, "Dr. Qin, why don't you think about it again? The salary is negotiable." Qin Haodong said, "Director Wen, I guess you didn't come here today to ask me to be the deputy director. If you have something to say, just say it. Everyone is very busy. Don't beat around the bush. There may be more people coming later." Wen Changjiang smiled embarrassedly and said, "Dr. Qin is a straightforward person. I'll get straight to the point. I heard that you have developed a kind of blood revival oral liquid that can completely cure leukemia." Qin Haodong smiled slightly and said, "Yes, there is such a thing. I think Director Wen also knows that 100 patients took the blood revival oral liquid yesterday, and the cure rate reached 100%. Wen Changjiang said, "Dr. Qin, have you ever thought about cooperating with our hospital or selling your formula to us? The price is negotiable." Qin Haodong said, "Director Wen, you've got the wrong person. I want to develop this medicine not to make money, but to relieve the pain of more than 4 million leukemia patients in Huaxia, so I don't intend to sell this formula." Zhang Shaoan couldn't help saying, "Oh. Then we can cooperate. Our Jiangnan hospital is strong. If we join forces, we will definitely benefit more patients." Qin Haodong picked up the agreement that had just been signed and said, "Director Wen, Deputy Director Zhang, I'm really sorry. You're late. I've just signed a cooperation agreement with Lin's group. I'll set up a Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company under my name. I'll immediately mass-produce the blood revival oral liquid. Wen Changjiang was disappointed. Qin Haodong had already cooperated with Lin's group, so they had no chance at all. Well, Dr. Qin, if you have any good formulas in the future, you must think of our Jiangnan hospital. Then Wen Changjiang left the infirmary with the Zhang brothers. As soon as they left, the director of Jiangnan Hospital of Chinese Medicine came in with his assistant. Their purpose was exactly the same as Wen Changjiang's. They both came for the blood revival oral liquid. As a result, like Wen Changjiang, the director of the Chinese Medicine Hospital also left disappointed. Later, the director of the Central Hospital and the heads of several other hospitals came, but they all left disappointed. Qin Haodong calculated that all the famous hospitals in Jiangnan City had been there. He thought that it would be quiet next. Unexpectedly, the door opened and a gloomy young man came in. "Who is Qin Haodong?" Luo Qingming asked arrogantly. "I am. What can I do for you?" Qin Haodong glanced at him and said, "I am Luo Qingming, the general manager of Luo's pharmaceutical company." After Luo Qingming finished speaking, he thought that Qin Haodong would look up to him because of the reputation of Luo's pharmaceutical company. At least, he would welcome him warmly. However, after waiting for a long time, Qin Haodong still looked at him indifferently. "Haven't you heard of Luo's pharmaceutical company?" Luo Qingming asked angrily. "So what if I've heard of it? I've heard of Bill Gates. Does it have anything to do with me? Besides, I've never heard of Luo's pharmaceutical company." "You?" Luo Qingming almost choked. "Why did you say so much if you hadn't heard of it?" Before he could catch his breath, Qin Haodong said again, "If you have something to say it quickly. Then leave quickly." Qin Haodong had never liked this kind of arrogant rich second generation. Moreover, when he heard the name of Luo's pharmaceutical company, he knew that they had come for the blood revival oral liquid. There was nothing to talk about. It would be a waste of time to say more. "Well, I'll get straight to the point." Luo Qingming took out his checkbook and wrote a check for 1 million yuan. Then he put it on Qin Haodong's table and said, "This is 1 million yuan. Sell me the formula of the blood revival oral liquid." Luo Qing had already thought about it on the way here. Cooperation was too troublesome. The other party was just a college student who had not yet graduated. With the reputation of Luo's group, he would be scared immediately. As long as he gave him some money, he would hand over the formula. Therefore, he neither talked about cooperation nor quoted the 2 billion yuan that Luo Jin had mentioned. He directly gave 1 million yuan and wanted to leave with the formula. Qin Haodong picked up the check and looked at it. Then he looked up at Luo Qingming as if he were looking at an idiot. Luo Qingming was very unhappy and said angrily, "Why are you looking at me like that? Didn't you hear me?" Qin Haodong directly tore the check into pieces and said, "Go out and turn left for 10 kilometers. That's the Jiangnan Psychiatric Hospital. If you're sick, see a doctor quickly. Remember, don't stop taking medicine." This guy wanted to buy a formula that was worth billions with 1 million yuan. Wasn't he stupid? What was stupid? He really didn't know how he became the general manager of Luo's group. In the beginning, he had thought that he would be able to get the formula back with just $1 million and let Luo Jin admire his abilities. He didn't think that not only would he not get the formula, he would also lose his clothes. Qin Haodong said discontentedly, "Saber, what did you do? If I tell you to strip him naked, then strip him naked. No matter what, you have to leave a pair of shorts. Don't you see that there are so many female colleagues in our company? Wouldn't it hurt their self-esteem if they saw his toothpicks?" "I'm sorry, boss. I was excited and didn't think too much," Saber said awkwardly. "Excited my ass. He's a man. Do you have any special hobbies? Don't be angry, boss. I'll find a way now." Saber looked around. There were no other clothes in the room, but he saw the trash can next to him at a glance. He took the garbage bag off the trash can and put it over Luo Qingming's head with the garbage inside. Although the garbage bag was not too big, it was able to cover the key part of Luo Qingming's waist. However, Luo Qingming looked more and more pitiful. His naked body was covered with all kinds of garbage. After that, Saber grabbed Luo Qingming's hair and dragged him out of the infirmary. When he arrived at the gate of Lin's group, he kicked Luo Qingming's butt and directly kicked him out. Luo Qingming got up from the ground and ran directly to the parking lot, no longer caring about anything else. Lin's group was so big that there was still a distance between the entrance and the parking lot. His strange outfit immediately attracted curious onlookers. "Young man, what are you doing? Body art? Young man, what do you mean by wearing a plastic bag? Are you calling on everyone to pay attention to environmental protection? Are you running to protect the environment? Young man, what's your slogan for running naked? Is it world peace?" Luo Qingming was going crazy. He roared wildly at the people around him, "Get the F***ck out of here. Damn it, he's a madman. I thought it was body art. No, he looks familiar. I remember now. Isn't he the general manager of Luo's group?" It was so shameful that someone in the crowd recognized him. Luo Qingming covered his face with one hand and carried the plastic bag around his waist with the other. He ran forward crazily. Fortunately, the driver he brought had good eyesight and responded quickly. He drove the car over in time. Luo Qingming opened the door and got in the car. Then he ran away. Saber returned to the infirmary and reported to Qin Haodong, "Boss, I've dealt with that fool. I really don't know where he came from." Qin Haodong turned to Zhang Jijie and said, "Do you know what's going on with Luo's pharmaceutical company? You really haven't heard of Luo's pharmaceutical company?" Zhang Jijie said with a surprised face. He had just thought that Qin Haodong was pretending to be confused and deliberately said that he had never heard of it. Qin Haodong said, "I really haven't heard of it. Is it very famous?" "It's more than famous. It's frighteningly famous." Zhang Jijie said, "Luo's pharmaceutical company is the only company in the Jiangnan pharmaceutical industry listed in M country, so the Luo family is rich. In addition, they used to have a gangster background, so they have always been able to do whatever they want in Jiangnan City. The man just now is Luo Qingming, the son of Luo Jin, the chairman of Luo's group. Now he is the general manager of Luo's pharmaceutical company." Qin Haodong said, "Such a brainless fool is the general manager. I really don't know how they got listed." Zhang Jijie said, "Luo Jin, the head of Luo's group, is really a character. He has a brain and a means to deal with things. Luo Qingming is much worse than his father. He is completely a spoiled child. Maybe it's been too smooth these years, so he doesn't use his brain to deal with things." Qin Haodong shook his head. In recent years, there had been a lot of rich second generations of officials in Huaxia. There were many elites among them, but most of them were brainless idiots. They had cheated their parents and grandfathers. Since ancient times, great talents had suffered many hardships. It was true that the playboy was a young man. While he was sighing with emotion, the door was pushed open from the outside with a bang. Zhu Hao came in with his 6 bodyguards. Zhu Hao said proudly, "Toy boy, you didn't expect that I would find you so soon." He thought that Qin Haodong had offended him and must be trying to hide. He didn't expect that Qin Haodong didn't take him seriously at all. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Why are you looking for me? Didn't you have fun yesterday? Do you want to do it again today?" Zhu Hao looked around. After making sure that there were no Dumao and Ermao, he was relieved and said, "Boy, you killed my dog and made me." Originally, he wanted to say that he made him run naked again, but he felt that it would be a little embarrassing to say that. He changed his words and said, "You made me very unhappy again, so I must let you pay the price today." Qin Haodong looked at him with a playful face and said, "Then tell me, what do you want me to do?" Hand over the formula of the blood revival oral liquid, and we'll let bygones be bygones. I won't trouble you anymore. Qin Haodong sighed. Nowadays, there were more and more brainless people. Just now, there was someone who wanted to buy the formula for 1 million yuan, and now there was someone who wanted to take it for free. He didn't know if these people thought with their heels. In contrast, Zhu Hao was more greedy. Yesterday, he had taken a fancy to Damao and Ermao, and just one night later, he had come to rob his formula. Qin Haodong really didn't know who gave him the courage. He said with a sullen face, I don't want to say another word about your dog. You can't be too greedy. It's not too late for you to get out now, or it will be too late to regret later. Zhu Hao laughed wildly. When he had enough, he said, Toy boy, you're still pretending. Without those 2 dogs, how can I deal with you? In his opinion, Qin Haodong was weak and had no ability. As long as Damao and Ermao were not there, he could deal with him however he wanted. He waved to the bodyguards behind him and said, beat him until he hands over the formula. The 6 bodyguards were also full of anger yesterday. When they got their master's order, they immediately rushed over with their teeth and claws. They wanted to beat Qin Haodong violently and then strip his clothes to wash away their shame. However, as soon as they moved, the figure of Saber blocked their way, and then there was a storm of beating. Before the smile on Zhu Hao's face disappeared, he saw his 6 men lying on the ground like dead dogs, screaming like pigs being slaughtered. Saber grabbed Zhu Hao's collar, threw him in front of Qin Haodong, and asked, Boss, what should we do with this guy? Do you want to strip him and throw him out too? When he heard the word, strip, Zhu Hao trembled with fear. The experience of running naked yesterday had left a shadow in his heart. He didn't want to do it again. Fortunately, Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, forget it. It's boring to play the same game twice. You throw those guys out first. I'll have a good talk with Child Zhu. Yes, boss. Saber took out the walkie-talkie and called in 2 more security guards. They took Zhu Hao's 6 bodyguards out of the infirmary. Qin Haodong looked at Zhu Hao and asked with a playful face, Child Zhu, I don't understand where you got the courage to ask me for the formula of the blood revival oral liquid. Don't you know how much my formula is worth? When it came to the formula, Zhu Hao seemed to have confidence again. He said, even if it's worth a lot of money, it's just a traditional Chinese medicine formula. Do you know who my father is? My father is the director of the drug administration. If you offend me, no matter how good the formula is, it can't be put into production. If I'm right, there must be a lot of people who want to cooperate with you to produce the medicine. However, if the medicine can't get the batch number, it can't be sold on the market. Then, no matter how much money you invest, it will be in vain. Qin Haodong looked at him and said, do you mean that as long as I offend you, the medicine can't be approved? Of course. I told you that my father is the director of the drug administration. He has the power to approve the medicine. Zhu Hao's face was full of pride again. Anyway, as long as Qin Haodong wanted to make a living in the field of medicine, he couldn't escape the palm of Child Zhu's hand. He said, well, let's take a step back. I don't want your formula. You give me 500 million yuan, and I'll help you get the approval of the medicine. Then I won't pursue the past. What do you think? It's a good deal, right? Chapter 249. The smile on Qin Haodong's face disappeared. This guy was really greedy. He didn't even do anything and just asked for 500 million yuan. He said in a cold voice, the formula is mine. Why should I pay you? Because my father is the director of the drug administration. Zhu Hao said confidently, don't think I'm scaring you. Have you heard of Changhua Pharmaceutical Company? You offended my father because you didn't know what was good for you. Now you're gone, aren't you? Let me tell you, if you want to make a living in the pharmaceutical industry, you must have a good relationship with my family. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. Qin Haodong seemed to be scared by his words. He hesitated and asked, "You came here today to ask for money. Is it your idea or your father's?" Zhu Hao said proudly, "Is there a need to distinguish? I'm my father's only son. My idea is his idea. He will do whatever I want him to do." Qin Haodong said, "If I give you 500 million yuan, will there be any benefits?" "Of course there will be many benefits. Your medicine can get approved as soon as possible, and the drug administration will not trouble you in the future. You just need to make money with peace of mind." Qin Haodong said coldly, "That is to say, no matter what my medicine is like, whether it is qualified or not, as long as I pay the money, it will be approved, right?" Zhu Hao didn't notice the change in Qin Haodong's tone at all. He still said proudly, "Of course, it's not up to us to decide whether the medicine is qualified or not. Have you ever thought about what kind of harm this medicine will bring to people if it is put on the market?" Zhu Hao seemed to feel that something was wrong. He said impatiently, "Why are you talking so much? Just tell me whether you will pay or not." Qin Haodong said coldly, "I have the money, but I won't give it to you." Zhu Hao didn't expect to get such a result. He said angrily, "Boy, are you kidding me? Get out of here, or I'll ask someone to throw you down." Zhu Hao was shocked. This was the top floor. If he was really thrown down, he would become a meat pie. He shouted fiercely, "Boy, wait and see. One day, you will beg me. At that time, it will not be 500 million yuan, but 1 billion or 2 billion yuan." After that, he was afraid that Qin Haodong would get angry, so he quickly ran out of the infirmary. Qin Haodong looked at Zhu Hao's back with a gloomy expression. Zhu Hao's conduct must be similar to his father's. Such a parasite must be removed, otherwise it would definitely be a scourge to the common people. He turned around and asked Zhang Jijia, "Did you record everything?" "It's all recorded. This brat is too despicable. Brother, you must teach him a lesson." Zhang Jijia handed a memory card to Qin Haodong. He hadn't taken the pinhole camera he bought last time home. When he saw Qin Haodong's gesture, he immediately took it out and began to record Zhu Hao's face. Qin Haodong put away the memory card, but this thing alone could not bring down Zhu Hao's father. Even if he took it out, Zhu Baiwen could deny it and say that it had nothing to do with him. Thinking of this, he took out his phone and dialed Qi Weiner's number. "I want all the information on Zhu Baiwen, the director of the drug administration. The kind that can send him to prison for the rest of his life. I know you won't call me if you have nothing to do." Qi Weiner said bitterly, "I can look up the information, but not in vain. Invite me to dinner tomorrow night." Since Qi Weiner expressed her feelings last time, Qin Haodong had not figured out how to face this relationship. He was very afraid to be alone with her. But now it was too late to hide, so he could only bite the bullet and said, "It's just a meal." "No problem." Qi Weiner's mood was a little better. She said in a pleasant tone, "Wait a minute. I'll send it to you when I'm done." About half an hour later, she called back and said with a slight apology, "Sorry, it took a little longer this time. This guy has done too many wicked things. By the way, I also checked his son. The information has been sent to your email." "Thank you," Qin Haodong said. It was much easier to do things with such a top hacker as a helper. Verbal thanks are useless. Remember to invite me to dinner tomorrow. Qi Weiner hung up the phone after she finished speaking. Qin Haodong turned on the computer and checked his email. There were more than 100 pages of information found by Qi Weiner. After a brief glance, he knew that Zhu Hao was greedy for a reason. It turned out that his father was even more greedy. He had 16 properties, 9 lovers, 8 cars, and deposits in major banks amounted to 8 figures. However, this guy's means were really covert. There were only 2 properties in Jiangnan, and most of them were purchased in other cities. Only a computer expert like Qi Weiner could find them. Zhu Hao also had a lot of things. He acted as a tool for his father to accumulate money, asking for bribes everywhere. For those who refused to yield and bow their heads, Zhu Baiwen used his power to suppress them. There was once a medium-sized pharmaceutical company called Baishan Pharmaceutical. Because it offended the father and son of the Zhu family, it had to withdraw from the pharmaceutical market. At the same time, this guy also hired bodyguards to fight everywhere, bully men and women, and did a lot of wicked things. Qi Weiner's information was very detailed. There was a lot of evidence for everything. As long as these things were handed over to the relevant departments, they could directly investigate the responsibility without even an investigation. After reading it, Qin Haodong sneered. It seemed that the good days of the father and son of the Zhu family were coming to an end. In a small conference room, Zhu Baiwen was sitting opposite Li Changji at this time, reporting the work with a serious expression. He had been in the officialdom for many years, and the best thing was to cater to people's interests. He was very clear about what the great man in front of him cared about most. Mayor Li, the best work of our drug administration is the honest work. From the beginning, I have set an example. I will never take a penny from the enterprise. Everything is based on service. Just when he was talking with great enthusiasm, the door opened and Wang Rubing came in from the outside. Li Changji glanced at his secretary. Although it had only been more than 10 days, he was very satisfied with this calm and capable little girl. He was very clear that if there was nothing important, Wang Rubing would not disturb him when he was listening to the report. Mayor Li, I just received some information. I think it is necessary to show it to you now. After Wang Rubing finished speaking, she put a thick stack of printed materials in front of Li Changji. Li Changji looked through it quickly. The more he read, the more gloomy his face became. Finally, his face was full of anger. Zhu Baiwen sat opposite him awkwardly. He didn't know whether he should continue the report or not. At the same time, he was very surprised. He didn't know what Wang Rubing had brought. Why was Li Changji so angry after reading it? Just when he didn't know what to do, Li Changji slapped the materials in his hand in front of him and said sternly, "You say one thing and do another. This is what you have done." Zhu Baiwen was shocked. Just a moment ago, this great god was still amiable and even very appreciative of his report. How did he suddenly become angry? The answer should be in this stack of materials. He took it and looked at it. The more he read, the paler his face became. Finally, he directly collapsed in the chair. Mayor Li, Zhu Baiwen stammered for a long time, but he couldn't say a complete word. He wanted to find a reason to defend himself and shirk his responsibility, but the information in front of him was so sufficient that he couldn't even find an excuse. He really couldn't understand. He had done a lot of things secretly. He didn't know how he had been found out. Did Li Changji use a special department to investigate him? Wang Rubing said again, "Mayor Li, here is the latest video." Then she turned on her mobile phone, and Zhu Hao's arrogant face appeared on the screen. "What I mean is what my father means. If you want to make a living in the pharmaceutical industry, you can't offend us. Otherwise, you won't even know how you die." After watching this video, Zhu Baiwen finally knew how he had died. Now he wanted to catch Zhu Hao immediately and strangle this deceitful son. This idiot actually went to ask for the formula directly, and even got recorded. He really wanted money so much that he went crazy. Li Changji said to Wang Rubing, "Call someone to take him away and inform the public security department. His son should also be arrested and dealt with according to the law." Zhu Baiwen's face was ashen. At this time, his intestines were green with regret. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. If he had known this, he wouldn't have done it. Soon, he was handcuffed by the discipline inspection staff and taken out of the conference room. After leaving Lin's group, Zhu Hao hated Qin Haodong to the core. He immediately drove to the drug administration to find his father. He must let his father deal with such an ungrateful person. Qin Haodong dared to disrespect him. He was courting death. He even imagined the scene of Qin Haodong kneeling down and begging him. However, when he arrived at the drug administration, Zhu Baiwen was not there. The secretary told him that he had gone to a meeting. Zhu Hao didn't leave. He sat directly in the office and waited. He couldn't do anything until he dealt with Qin Haodong. After waiting for half an hour, the office door was opened. "Dad, you're back. I tell you, today you must deal with Qin Haodong." Zhu Hao was halfway through his words when he looked up and saw that it was not his father, Zhu Baiwen, who came in, but two policemen in uniform. Coincidentally, it was the two policemen who caught him running naked yesterday. He said discontentedly, "What are you doing here? Haven't you already dealt with what happened yesterday? I've paid the fine. This time, it's not about you driving naked. If you want to be naked again, go to prison." The two policemen did not hesitate to handcuff Zhu Hao and take him to the police station. "Let me go. Do you know who I am? My father is Zhu Baiwen." Until now, Zhu Hao still wanted to rely on his father to show off. A policeman sneered and said, "Of course we know. You can reunite with him when you go to prison." "What? Did you say that my father was also arrested?" Zhu Hao asked in horror. He could do nothing but indulge in debauchery. His father was his biggest support. If Zhu Baiwen was also arrested, he would be completely dumbfounded. "Not only was your father arrested, but he will definitely be sentenced more than you. Sooner or later, you will meet a ghost if you walk in the dark. You and your father will spend the rest of your life in prison because of the wicked things you have done." The policeman did not talk nonsense with him. He directly stuffed Zhu Hao into the police car and was taken away with the siren. In Luo Enterprises, Luo Jin was busy with the work at hand. He thought of the formula of the blood revival oral liquid and wondered how his precious son was doing. He also knew Luo Qingming's temper very well. However, he only had one son, and he would take over his position in the future. He had to train him well, so he had asked Luo Qingming to do it. He took out his mobile phone and dialed Luo Qingming's number. He asked, "Qingming, how is the discussion about the formula going?" Chapter 250. Luo Qingming returned home in embarrassment. He had just taken a shower, found a new set of clothes, and changed the plastic bag around his waist. At this time, his phone rang. He took the phone and pressed the answer button. Hearing Luo Jin's question, he said impatiently, "Father, leave this matter to me. Don't worry about it. I'll definitely get the formula for you." With that, he hung up the phone. Luo Jin looked at the phone in his hand and was speechless. He knew that his wayward son was angry again. He didn't know what kind of bastard he would do. But he thought about it. Qin Haodong was just a college student. Their family started in the underworld. It would not be a big deal to kill him. Maybe his son could also succeed. Thinking of this, he didn't ask any more questions. He completely let Luo Qingming handle the matter. Luo Qingming poured a glass of red wine and drank it up. At this time, the door opened and a middle-aged man with a scar on his face came in. He was Scar, Luo Jin's first general when he was involved in the underworld. Although he had been clean for many years, he still had a fierce look on his face. "Young master, you're looking for me?" Scar said. "Scar, go and do something for me." Luo Qingming pointed to Qin Haodong's photo on the computer and said, "This guy is the healthcare doctor of Lin's group. Take some men to tie him up for me. Remember, don't kill him. He's still useful to me." According to his plan, he would first catch Qin Haodong and ask him for the formula. Then he would torture him and finally throw him into the sea to feed the fish. "Don't worry, young master. He's just a toy boy. I'll definitely send it to you tonight," Scar said, patting his chest. Qin Haodong was just a gentle college student in the photo, so he didn't take him seriously at all. Luo Qingming thought for a moment and said, "Be careful when you do things. Try not to let others find out." "I see, young master. You can rest assured that I'll do it well for you." Scar left Luo Qingming's office and asked some of his men to do something. Luo Qingming's face was gloomy as he murmured, "Toy boy, how dare you take off my clothes? Wait and see how I'll deal with you." Qin Haodong did not know this. After lunch, he went back to her office to rest. As soon as he entered the door, Wang Rubing called him. "Haodong, Zhu Baiwen and his son Zhu Hao have been brought to justice and are in prison." "That's great. These two bastards have done all sorts of evil deeds. They should have been arrested long ago." After chatting for a while, Qin Haodong hung up the phone and told Lin Momo what had happened. Finally, he said, "Putting Zhu Baiwen in prison is also a way for the approval of our pharmaceutical industry. Shouldn't you reward me?" Lin Momo smiled bitterly and said, "Why should I thank you? You're not helping me at all." Qin Haodong asked in confusion, "What? How could this be a hindrance?" The suspender was very short, revealing the sexy and strong waist. Sexy. It was so sexy. Qin Haodong's eyes were firmly attracted by the woman's devil-like figure. He just glanced at her face and then returned to the lower half. When he was almost done, he asked, "Beauty, who are you looking for?" "Qin Haodong, what do you mean? You've been out for more than 10 days, and you pretend not to know me?" "Ah." Qin Haodong was slightly stunned, and then he saw that the sexy beauty in front of him turned out to be Nailan Wuxia. It was no wonder that he did not recognize her. Nailan Wuxia had always been used to wearing a uniform. Even if she wore casual clothes, she had never dressed so sexily. Especially the large white skin on her chest and the two beautiful hills were exposed, which was not her style at all. In addition, she had permed her long wavy hair, which hung down and covered half of her face. If he did not look carefully, he really could not recognize her. "No, I just did not expect it would be you." Qin Haodong looked at her playfully and said, "Officer Nailan, your style has changed a lot today. Who are you going to flirt with in such a sexy dress?" Nailan Wuxia stared at him, and her cheeks slightly floated into two groups of red. She said, "There is no handsome man, but there is a young doctor who will accompany me to dinner tonight." "Accompany you to dinner? Is it a special day today?" "It is not a special day. Can't you invite me to dinner? You've been out for so many days, and you don't accompany me when you come back." Speaking of this, Nailan Wuxia suddenly felt that she had said something wrong. She quickly stopped, but her cheeks had been as red as a ripe apple. "Okay, it's just dinner. What do you want to eat?" "We'll go right away." Qin Haodong did not notice Nailan Wuxia's abnormality. He picked up his mobile phone and called Lin Momo. He asked her to pick up the little fellow, and then they left Lin's group together. When they went out and got in the car, Qin Haodong asked, "What do you want to eat? How about we go to dreamy Jiangnan again?" "I don't want to go there. I want to go to the river to eat seafood, and then walk along the river to see the night view and feel the river breeze." "No problem, then let's go to eat seafood." After saying that, Qin Haodong started the car. Half an hour later, they arrived at the largest seafood restaurant by the river, Yingjiang Restaurant. They asked for a single room on the second floor. While watching the river scenery, they ate seafood and drank red wine, which was extremely comfortable. However, Nailan Wuxia seemed to be in a bad mood. She only ate a few mouthfuls of a 3.5-kilogram lobster, and the rest went into Qin Haodong's stomach. She only ate one of the 10 hairy crabs. Qin Haodong ate very happily. Finally, he drank up the red wine in the glass, wiped his mouth and said, "You asked me to treat you to dinner, but you don't eat anything. I'm a miser." He said vaguely, "I don't think so. We can only be friends." Chapter 251. Nalan Wuxia said, "Don't lie to me. Hu Shaoxian must like you. It's a woman's intuition." Qin Haodong was speechless. He had to admit that a woman's intuition was really terrible. Before they knew it, they had been walking for more than an hour. It was getting late and there were fewer and fewer people by the river. Nalan Wuxia stared at Qin Haodong with hatred. This man was really a blockhead. They had been walking for so long and she had hinted many times, but he didn't respond at all. Finally, she reached out and hugged Qin Haodong's arm, sticking her body tightly to him. Although it seemed very bold, she was actually very nervous. After all, it was the first time she had done this kind of thing. Her body could not help but tremble slightly. Qin Haodong was not stupid. He had already seen through Nalan Wuxia's mind. The reason why she dressed so sexily today must be for him, but he had been deliberately avoiding it. When he was in the cultivation world, he had won the hearts of many female cultivators with his handsome appearance and excellent cultivation. He even had a huge harem. But after all, there were no rules in the cultivation world. As long as a man was strong enough, he could have countless women. But now it was different. This was the earth. Normally, a man could only love one woman. So when facing Nalan Wuxuang, Nalan Wuxia, Hu Shaoxian, Qi Wan, and others who expressed their feelings, he could only pretend to be a fool to avoid it. They walked like this for a long time. Nalan Wuxia said, "Haodong, don't you have anything to say to me?" "Oh. Didn't I say it all the time? I even told you about wetting the bed when I was a child." Nalan Wuxia said with annoyance, "You know I'm not talking about that." "Oh. Then I understand." Just when Nalan Wuxia thought that the blockhead had finally understood, Qin Haodong took out a pill from his pocket and said with a smile, "The energy-boosting pill can greatly improve the cultivation of warriors." "You mean this, right? Your cousin must have told you." Nalan Wuxia grabbed the pill angrily and stuffed it into her small bag. Then she said angrily, "Not this." Not the energy-boosting pill?" Qin Haodong put his hand into his pocket again. This time, he took out a handful of elixirs and stuffed them into Nalan Wuxia's bag. Big strengthening elixir, foundation laying elixir, and energy boosting elixir. These are all for you. They are enough for you to cultivate to the supreme power realm. You. Nalan Wuxia was about to go crazy. It was the first time she had fallen in love with a man. She couldn't take the initiative to confess, could she? "Come on, let's keep going." Nalan Wuxia secretly made up her mind. As long as this guy did not take the initiative to speak today, she would drag him to the riverside for the night. Qin Haodong said with a bitter face, "Sister, we've walked here 3 times. It's already midnight. Do you see anyone nearby? That won't do. We have to go." Nalan Wuxia said angrily. "All right, if you want to leave, then let's go." Qin Haodong relieved his sore muscles with genuine qi and continued to walk along the scenic road with Nalan Wuxia. In fact, Nalan Wuxia was wearing high heels, so it was more tiring for her to walk. She just supported herself with a breath in her heart. As she walked, she suddenly stepped on a pebble, slipped, and fell to the ground. "How are you? Are you hurt?" Qin Haodong hurriedly helped Nalan Wuxia up and let her sit on a bench next to him. Nalan Wuxia said with a painful face, my foot is twisted." "It doesn't matter. I'm here." Qin Haodong said as he took off Nalan Wuxia's shoes and held her white and tender little foot in his hand. It had to be said that a beautiful person was beautiful everywhere. Even her feet were so beautiful. Her skin was crystal clear, and her 10 toes were like jade carvings. Her nails dyed red looked very cute. "What are you doing? Let go of me." Nalan Wuxia said shyly. "Don't worry, I'm treating your injury." Qin Haodong said as he looked at the sole of her foot, "Your foot is very good. There's nothing wrong with it." Nalan Wuxia said, "Come on, I twisted my right foot. Why are you playing with my left foot? Sorry, I made a mistake. Qin Haodong inadvertently made such a big mistake. He hurriedly put on the right shoe and then took Nalan Wuxia's left foot. At this time, he found that the ankle had just been twisted seriously. It was swollen and scary. Fortunately, his medical skills were superb. This little injury was nothing at all. He held the ankle and gently rubbed it. Under the nourishment of the greenwood genuine qi, the swollen skin began to quickly reduce and the bruise slowly faded. 5 minutes later, Qin Haodong put the shoe back on her and said, "Okay, you can walk." Nalan Wuxia stood up and said, "No, it still hurts." "That's impossible. I've been completely cured. How can it still hurt?" Qin Haodong squatted down to check the ankle that had just been injured and made sure that there was no problem. Nalan Wuxia said coquettishly, "I don't care. Anyway, it hurts and I can't walk." "Well." Qin Haodong looked at the empty landscape road and said, "What should we do? There are no cars here." Nalan Wuxia smiled slyly, "Carry me on your back." Qin Haodong realized that the pain in the woman's foot was fake. She really wanted him to carry her. This is not good. What's wrong with it? I'll let you carry me. Anyway, I won't go if you don't carry me. After saying that, Nalan Wuxia sat on the bench in a huff. "Well, okay, I'll carry you." Qin Haodong couldn't leave Nalan Wuxia alone, so he turned around and said, "Come on, I'll carry you." "That's more like it." Nalan Wuxia immediately smiled. She held the 2 shoes in her hands and then lay on Qin Haodong's back. Qin Haodong felt a soft and elastic pressure on his back, which made his heart suddenly beat faster. He naturally turned back to hold the elastic buttocks and stepped forward. Nalan Wuxia put her hands around Qin Haodong's neck. It was the first time that she had been touched there. She couldn't help blushing and crying shyly, "You can't touch me there." Qin Haodong quickly let go of his hands and suddenly felt a huge pressure on his neck. He put down Nalan Wuxia and said, "How can you carry me without holding your buttocks? Are you going to strangle me? That's not right. Anyway, you can't touch me there. I can't carry you if I don't let you touch me. Otherwise, I'll be strangled by you after a few steps." Nalan Wuxia said, "Then hold me. Just like how the male lead holds the female lead in a princess hug on TV. Okay, it's up to you, princess." Qin Haodong felt helpless and picked up Nalan Wuxia by her waist. He didn't need to hold her buttocks, but it was also a little troublesome. He suddenly narrowed the distance between the towering peaks on both sides and Qin Haodong's eyes. The large snow-white skin and deep ravine on her chest were in front of him, exuding incomparable temptation under the light of the street lamps. Nalan Wuxia seemed to be aware of this and quickly buried her head in Qin Haodong's arms. In this way, the two slowly walked forward. Although Nalan Wuxia looked very plump, she was not heavy, so it was not difficult for Qin Haodong to carry her. Nalan Wuxia buried her head in Qin Haodong's chest and listened to his strong heartbeat. Her cheeks couldn't help but feel hot. During this period of time, she had been entangled by her own feelings. During the days when Qin Haodong disappeared, she lived in a daze every day, as if she had lost the most important thing in her life. This finally made her see her heart clearly. Indeed, she had fallen hopelessly in love with this man. As the saying goes, a woman dresses for the man she likes. Today, she finally changed into a sexy dress that she had never worn before, in order to let Qin Haodong find her beauty, and it would be best if he could take the initiative to confess his love to her. However, Qin Haodong didn't respond at all. She had no choice but to use this almost coquettish trick. Finally, as she wished, she was held in the arms of the man she liked. The night was getting darker and darker, and it was quiet all around. Only the sound of Qin Haodong's footsteps and the constant heartbeat could be heard. Nalan Wuxia held Qin Haodong's strong arm tightly, hoping that this road could go on until the end of time. At this moment, Qin Haodong's heart was also extremely complicated. It would be a lie to say that he didn't like Nalan Wuxia at all, but he didn't know how to choose. It was impossible for him to give up Lin Momo. If he had Lin Momo and other women at the same time, he would be very happy. However, Wu Xiaoxian, Nalan Wushuang, Nalan Wuxia, and Qi Wan were all proud girls. Could they accept it? Could Lin Momo accept it? Not far behind them, Scar was answering Luo Qingming's phone. Luo Zhangming said discontentedly, "What's going on? It's almost midnight. Haven't you succeeded yet?" "Young master, I've been following that guy. I wanted to wait for him to be alone, but he was always with a woman. I don't know what's wrong with them. They have been walking back and forth on the scenic road by the river, and our brother's legs have become thin. I thought they would separate, but they got closer and closer. Now they are hugging each other." Luo Zhangming's heart skipped a beat and he said, "How about that woman? Is she beautiful?" "Yes, she's very beautiful. I've never seen such a beautiful woman in my life." Luo Qingming cried, "Then don't talk nonsense. Take them both back. I'm not only going to take his formula, but also his woman." "Okay, young master, I'll do it right away." After hanging up the phone, Scar waved his hand to several of his men around him and began to slowly approach Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong had a powerful spirit, and his six senses were much more sensitive than ordinary people's. Although Scar's voice was very low, he still heard it clearly. Seeing these people approaching him, the corner of his mouth curled into a sneer. "Since you want to kidnap me, then I'll let you kidnap me. When the time comes, when your master sees that you've kidnapped a captain of the criminal police team, how wonderful will his expression be?" After thinking about it, he pretended not to notice anything and continued to walk forward with Nalan Wuxia in his arms. Nalan Wuxia was immersed in happiness at this time, and she really didn't notice these people approaching. Behind Qin Haodong, Scar smiled proudly. The task of kidnapping a college student was too simple for him. He suddenly propped up the sack in his hand and put it over Qin Haodong's head. Because the sack was big enough, both of them were put together at once. Then he skillfully tied the sack with a rope. A gangster next to him came over and was about to hit Qin Haodong with a wooden stick. Scar raised his hand to stop him and said, "Forget it. He's just a toy boy. It doesn't matter if he's knocked out or not. Besides, young master, he's still useful. If he becomes stupid, you won't be able to get the formula out of him." He then said to the two people in the sack, "If you know what's good for you, behave yourselves. Otherwise, you'll be the ones to suffer." Qin Haodong pretended to be nervous and said, "Please, don't kill us. We will cooperate. Anything will do." Chapter 252. Cut the crap. Let's talk about it when we get there. At this time, an off-road vehicle drove in. Scar waved his hand, and two gangsters carried the sack into the car and put it on the back seat of the off-road vehicle. Qin Haodong was embarrassed in the sack. No matter how big the sack was, it was still a sack with limited space. He and Nalan Wuxia hugged each other tightly, chest to chest, cheek to cheek, and they could hear each other's breath. As the car started and shook, the two of them became more and more uncomfortable. In the end, Qin Haodong simply stretched out his arms and held Nalan Wuxia in his arms. Nalan Wuxia also stretched out her legs and wrapped them around Qin Haodong's waist. In this extremely ambiguous posture, the two of them suddenly felt much more comfortable. But anyway, Qin Haodong was a normal man. In this position, coupled with the constant shaking of the car, the second master immediately reacted. Nalan Wuxia felt his change, and her cheeks were so red that it seemed to drip blood. But this kidnapping also brought her unexpected joy, which made her infinitely closer to her sweetheart. Looking at the face that often appeared in her dreams in front of her, she suddenly plucked up her courage, hugged Qin Haodong's neck, and kissed him heavily. The space in the sack was so small that Qin Haodong couldn't hide even if he wanted to. Moreover, he really had no reason to hide from such a delicious meal that came to him. Soon, he turned passivity into initiative and counterattacked. After a long time, the two slowly separated. Nalan Wuxia whispered in his ear, "This is my first kiss. If you take it away, you will be responsible for me for the rest of your life. Sister, you are blackmailing me. You kissed me by force. Well, I will be responsible for you for the rest of my life." Nalan Wuxia said jokingly. Qin Haodong was speechless for a moment. Nalan Wuxia breathed in his ear again and said, "How could you be covered by a sack with your ability? Why didn't you resist? Did you want to take advantage of me? You think too much. I just want to find the mastermind behind this through these minions." Qin Haodong asked, "The sack can't trap you. Why didn't you resist?" Nalan Wuxia chuckled and said, "You are such a blockhead. I have liked you for so long, but you don't know how to confess. Now that I have such a good opportunity, I can't even thank the kidnappers enough. Why should I resist?" After that, she hugged Qin Haodong and kissed him again. The little girl was addicted to it. Since it was the first time, Qin Haodong naturally didn't care about the second time. The two of them kissed in the dark sack until it was dark. Shuzhu and demigods and semi-devils said that the happiest place in life was a dark icehouse. At this moment, Nalan Wuxia's idea was similar to his. The happiest place in life was a dark sack. At this moment, the happiness in the sack was her everything. Qin Haodong only belonged to her. Unfortunately, happy times were always short-lived. With a screeching sound of brakes, the off-road vehicle stopped. Then, the trunk opened, and two hooligans carried them out of the car. Nalan Wuxia kissed Qin Haodong's lips again and said reluctantly, "Remember, don't forget me in the future, or I'll put you in a sack." Qin Haodong was speechless for a moment. He had just kissed her so passionately that he couldn't refuse her now. Luo Qingming had been waiting at the door of the building impatiently. When he saw Scar coming back, he immediately went forward and asked, "How was it? Did you bring her back?" Scar said, "I brought her back, young master. Not only the gigolo boy, but also his girlfriend. I tell you, that woman is so beautiful. I've never seen such a beautiful woman in my life." He was indeed fascinated by Nalan Wuxia's delicate face. If Luo Qingming hadn't been thinking about her, he would have taken her to his bed immediately. "That's great. All the brothers who work tonight will be rewarded." Luo Qingming was very happy. His biggest characteristic was that he was greedy, lustful, and brainless. Now he had begun to fantasize about getting the formula from Qin Haodong and then taking the beautiful woman for himself. He didn't use his brain to think about why things were going so smoothly. "Thank you, young master." Scar said excitedly, "Where are you going to take these two people?" "Come with me and take them to my father's room immediately. Let him see how well we did." Luo Qingming wanted to show off his ability, so he went straight to Luo Jin's study. As the head of Luo's group, Luo Jin was still a very smart person. Every day before going to bed, he would read business magazines for a while and keep abreast of the latest developments in the world's pharmaceutical industry. He had almost finished reading today. He put the magazine in his hand aside and was about to go to bed when the door was opened from the outside. There was no need to ask who it was. Only his precious son, Luo Qingming, dared to enter his room without knocking. Sure enough, after the door was opened, Luo Qingming walked in with a happy face. Luo Jin asked, "Why aren't you sleeping so late? What's the matter?" "Father, I want to show you a surprise," Luo Qingming said and waved his hand behind him. Scar and some gangsters carried a big sack in. "What's this?" Luo Jin asked in surprise. "It's that gigolo boy. I've asked someone to tie him up. We'll get the formula later." Luo Jin sighed secretly. It seemed that Luo Qingming had used underworld means, but it was only this time. After all, the formula of the blood revival oral liquid was too important for Luo's group. Luo Qingming waved to his men and said, "Open the sack." Two gangsters immediately untied the rope at the mouth of the sack and let Qin Haodong and Nalan Wuxia out. After seeing the light again, Qin Haodong helped Nalan Wuxia stand up. Then, with his back to the people behind him, he reached out to tidy her messy hair. "Boy, you're really a lover. You're still showing off your love at this time." Although Luo Qingming couldn't see Nalan Wuxia's face, he saw her two long legs. His eyes became eager and he said to Luo Jing, "Father, you keep the gigolo boy and ask for the formula. I want the woman. These two long legs are enough for me to play with for 3 months." Soon, Qin Haodong slowly turned around and said with a playful face, "Are you sure you want to take my woman?" Hearing Qin Haodong say that she was his woman, Nalan Wuxia's face flushed, which made her look even more beautiful. Luo Qingming drooled and said, "Yes, of course. Do you have any objections?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "I have no objections, but I'm afraid my woman will." "It doesn't matter who has objections. I'm going to have sex with this woman today." After Luo Qingming said arrogantly, he felt that the woman in front of him looked familiar. He turned to Luo Jin and said, "Father, why do I feel that she looks like someone? Is she a big star?" Then he found that Luo Jin's face was as pale as paper. He looked at Nalan Wuxia in horror. "Father, what's wrong with you?" Luo Qingming's heart tightened. Did his father fall in love with this woman? Luo Jin ignored him at all. He came to Nalan Wuxia nervously and said, "Captain Nalan, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. There must be a misunderstanding today." He tried to explain, but he couldn't find a suitable reason. He never dreamed that Luo Qingming, the fool, would tie Nalan Wuxia up. Although this woman was beautiful, her identity was even more frightening. Luo's group couldn't afford to offend either of them, whether it was the captain of the crime squad or the young lady of the Nalan family. Nalan Wuxia's face darkened. In an instant, she changed from a little woman in love to a female tyrannosaurus. She shouted coldly, "Luo Jin, what do you mean? You tied me up here. Do you have a problem with our Nalan family, or do you want to take revenge on the captain of the crime squad?" Luo Jin's legs trembled and he almost fell to the ground. The two hats were so big that he couldn't catch either of them. Although Luo's group had some strength, it was still no match for the giant Nalan family. If the old man Nalan Jia knew that he had kidnapped his granddaughter, Luo's group wouldn't be able to stay in Jiangnan anymore. Not to mention the captain of the crime squad. People didn't fight with officials. No matter how powerful they were, they didn't dare to openly challenge the police station. "Bastard, this is all your fault." Luo Jin couldn't explain. He slapped Luo Qingming in the face, and then kicked Scar Wang to the ground. Luo Qingming finally sobered up a little after being slapped. He recognized who the beautiful woman in front of him was. Originally, he knew Nalan Wuxia, who had long been listed as one of the people Luo's group couldn't afford to offend. However, Nalan Wuxia's image had changed a lot today. She was very different from before. For the first time, she showed superhuman sexiness and hotness, so he didn't recognize her for a while. He covered his swollen face and said, "Father, I don't know. This is Miss Nalan." Nalan Wuxia said coldly, "Do you mean that you can kidnap ordinary people at will? Is there any law in your eyes? Do you know how many years you will be sentenced for kidnapping?" Luo Jin's heart skipped a beat. He knew that today's matter was serious. If Nalan Wuxia didn't let them go, they would stay in prison for at least 10 years for kidnapping, extortion, and assaulting the police. He could shirk the responsibility, but Luo Qingming couldn't. Luo Qingming also realized this. He gritted his teeth and whispered to Luo Jin, "Father, why don't we kill these two people directly? Anyway, no one will know what happened today, and no one will know that it was our family who did it." Luo Jin was shocked. His son was really bold. It would be better to kill Qin Haodong, but if he really killed Nalan Wuxia, it would be a big deal. Both the Jiangnan Public Security Bureau and the Nalan family would go crazy. Although Nalan Wuxia didn't hear what Luo Qingming said, she guessed it from his expression. She sneered and said, "What? Do you want to kill people to keep their mouths shut? That's a good idea, but you need to have the ability to do it." Then she stretched out a white finger and poked at the tea table in front of her. The tea table was made of pure mahogany, and its hardness could be imagined. Even if she cut it with a knife, she could only leave a mark. But at this time, in Nalan Wuxia's hand, it was like tofu. She directly poked a hole. Luo Jin was shocked. He was also knowledgeable. With Nalan Wuxia's skills, they couldn't kill people to keep their mouths shut even if they wanted to. If the news really leaked, the Luo family would be destroyed, so he immediately gave up the idea. Luo Qingming was also shocked. Just now, he wanted to get lost with Nalan Wuxia. Where was the bedsheet? If she really did that, it would be poked into a sieve. Nalan Wuxia's skills had improved a few levels after she got Qin Haodong's big spirit culturing elixir last time. She casually showed her skills to frighten the father and son of the Luo family. Now it seemed that the effect was good. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.